go here. Hello, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard. We are ready to go live. Welcome to Common Connoisseurs. And here we are, folks. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I am joined by my friend Derek today for an evening of Elfball cPDH. How are you doing, Derek?
I am great, and I'm glad to talk about elves. It's, I posted on Twitter today, it's kind of the long-forgotten archetype unto itself. I love it. It's really deep, and I'm glad to dive in.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a rad evening. Chat, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. We've got some really fun stuff. We're going to go deep. We've got something I'm showing here, but we're going to let you, Derek, kind of take the wheel on this one. I think we're going to start with Heritage Druid was one of your vision for this. We're going to be looking at Miara Numa as well. This is one that I'm quite interested in as granting us a second color, as well as potentially boosting our elves beyond the range of certain sweepers that are common in the format. It's really interesting to me. And then chat. And I saw in Twitter that you posted some nonsense about going beyond Golgari. But you know what? I had somebody in Discord message me and they said, why not play Sultai Soothsayer?
Okay, that's an interesting thought.
It is an interesting thought, yeah. And not to say that that's exactly the direction I think we should go with it, but it did spark the idea, combined with your Twitter post, about playing a 5-color commander.
Sure.
And the value of that is that there are some incredibly powerful draw engines that could serve to really insulate us against wraths, fuel our board, and just generate massive card advantage. And for you 60 card enjoyers out there, Distant Melody and Keep Watch are some pretty broken spells. And if we basically played 5-color elves, there's a chance that we could be like sinking our mana into big fireballs or, you know, rolling thunders or things like that, and then playing powerful card advantage in blue alongside our creatures. So as you can tell, chat, it's going to be a spicy evening, and I'm really glad you all showed up. Yeah, there's so much. So you have a list for Heritage Druid, is that right?
I do. It's on. There's a thread for it on the TryHard server.
Got it.
I posted it not that long ago. It's something that I've been exploring, just kind of throwing tons of things at the wall and seeing what sticks for like the last 3-ish months or so. Heritage Druid specifically. I've tried almost everything you could think of. Mono green obviously is severely limiting, but with Heritage Druid, I mean, I shouldn't start with Heritage Druid. I was watching a lot of videos, like TryHard's videos and other like competitive PDH videos that I could find on YouTube, just like kind of get a feel for where the meta was at more or less, what people were doing. And you know, obviously, tragically for all of us, it's big, stupid, little, tiny, dorky creature lovers. Breath Weapon and Fiery Candidate are everywhere, and much to my chagrin. So, as such, you know, you don't see a lot of things like goblins anymore. You don't see like elves, just because they're very susceptible to those things. So, I thought to myself, I'm just going to do it anyway and see where it goes. Yeah, because there has to be something here. There has to be something to it. The payoffs are so powerful that there's no reason why you can't just kind of like go right to those things. Things like, you know, Elvish Guidance, and Timberwatch Elf, and Priest of Titania, and oh goodness, even stuff like that's only tangentially touches on elves. Like Master Chef is a tremendously powerful elves card.
Like, it's a funny thing that in this, elves are one of the few places where we retain the payoffs in the common card pool. The common elves that have been printed throughout time are just that powerful when it comes to the it's both the payoffs really and the enablers. And so that's really where kind of my mind went when I was thinking about elves, is that you just so many of like the legacy elf playable cards like Sans, the non-elf Wirewood symbiote, are just available to us. And there's also a lot of really dynamic effects that we get that are tribal, like even just Well-Wisher
Yes.
repeatedly gaining you life with like a Quirion Ranger
Yeah,
can
gets out of hand.
rapidly put a game out of reach unless you're going to die to commander damage. And so it's super exciting. Timberwatch Elf creating like a very easy way to basically like double tap somebody. If you have a Quirion Ranger in play, you swing, everything swings except the Timberwatch Elf. The one unblocked thing, you tap it, buff the thing that's not blocked, untap it, tap it again, and they're dead. It's like
it's tremendously powerful, the things that you can enable, and it's very easy to do it because mostly like all elves as an archetype asks of you is that you play a lot of elves. Like
that's it.
The individual cards are largely interchangeable depending on what you're trying to do, and that's what kind of drew me to Heritage Druid. Initially, I was exploring a lot of like Simic builds because, like you said, Distant Melody and Keepwatch are like insanely great if you have that many like creatures that you're attacking with. And so like I put together like some kind of experimental like mid-rangey kind of builds with that domain one, like from Dominator United. That's a blue-green 2/4 flyer for 4, and when it connects, you look at the top 2 cards of your library. You can put one on top, out on the bottom, which is like a really great source of consistent card selection.
Sure.
And then like you have like the sideways domain enablers to just like do the thing where you look at 5, draw 1, which is not like too out of hand. It's not like too unreasonable to do in Simic. So like I started there and moved into Zamet Guildmage next because I wanted to be more aggressive, which is a 2/2 for 2 Simic colors, pay 2, activated ability, green-blue. All the creatures that enter the battlefield this turn get a 1/1 counter, basically.
Yeah, let's actually take a quick look at this here. I'm going to pull up let's see how we can do this. I think this will momentarily not show you. Or maybe what we could do.
Hey, whatever you gotta do. Zamet Guildmage is a good-looking guy. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. So what I gotta do here is I want to show folks what you're talking about here.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about a lot of cards, and I talk fast. So if you need me to slow down, let me know.
No, that is okay. So let me just do a quick. Maybe I can pull in a Scryfall image here.
Sure.
We'll go window capture. This will be Scryfall. Unless I already have it, I probably do. Scryfall, there we go. Scryfall 1. And this will, let's see, go to here. And we'll go to Heritage Druid, like that. And we'll just bring this up for you, chat, so that we can do a quick look at the cards he's talking about here.
And Zamet Guildmage, I think, is an important one because that's kind of the entry point into Simic, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't think there's a better option in those colors for Elves. I think that card is pretty busted.
Yeah. There's some amazing options in Elves, and we're gonna take a look at which ones here are gonna do us the most work. So let's go. Sorry, chat. Thanks for your patience here. We're just going to try and get this set up here. I have basically, I don't have the complete infrastructure for doing 2-person streams yet on everything. And it's sometimes funny how like you'll have like a duplicate thing where it's like, this is for when I'm looking at Scryfall. This is for when I'm looking at a deck tech. And then it's like, but what if you have 2 people and you want to do Scryfall, where I've got the 2-person for the deck tech, but not for this one. So we'll do this here, and then we will turn this off for now, and then this can go. Oh, looks like it wants to be up here. Okay, well that's fine. We can handle that. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these commanders that you are talking about.
Yeah.
And so we're doing rarity, uncommon, type elf, ID. It actually doesn't really matter. Type creature, and that's really what we want to see.
Yeah. So find
and actually, we want to do ID equals Simic, right?
Let's start there because that's kind of where I started. I just kind of had the weird idea to do a mid-range Nile build, and then it kind of turned into Zamet Guildmage. This card is actually, I think, very powerful because you can remove the counters to draw cards, and there's a million ways to put counters on your things. Like even if you're not activating Guildmage, which is easy to do and is quite possible and very easy to stack your creatures with stuff, you can always just use other things to do it. It's very powerful.
Wow. So part of the thing that we were talking about is like Miara gives you this insulation against the board wipes. But in a lot of ways, there's some weird elements there where you feel compelled to keep mana open all the time because you want to be able to, and just to be clear here, With Miara, you're paying a colorless every time an elf dies. You lose life, you draw a card.
Yeah.
The black, having access to black in the elves is nice. There's a lot of really good stuff in there, namely good removal.
The graveyard stuff, I think, is very attractive for
yeah,
black
the graveyard
elves,
stuff. Yeah, like reaping the graves, being able to like snag back like 5 or 6 elves.
Yeah, exactly.
But what the Zemek is doing is it's basically giving us a Master Chef in the command zone that we can activate multiple times. Right, so we can sink mana into this, play our elves, they're big, and then they're out of the sweeper range, which is kind of the goal. And I think about that a lot with the sweepers because I think that's my biggest concern with the elves is that we have to build this deck to be resilient against not just Cannonade and Breath Weapon, but Pestilence and Crypt Rats. Like these are cards that are just so powerful in this format, regardless of whether people are going wide, that every deck that has access to them, most decks that have access to them are going to play them. So this is great. And then being able to pull
that was actually
off and draw is
those
amazing.
questions were the ones that kind of guided my entire brewing process, was like, how do I survive those sweepers? And I'm going to get into that a lot when I start talking about Heritage Druid, because there's a lot of really great tech that you can use. And not just that, but like other Elves builds as well. It just works particularly well in Heritage Druid because of what that commander asks of you. But yeah, so Guildmage was great. What I found when I was building Zamek Guildmage decks was that the games where you have a turn 1 accelerant and the games where you do not, the delta between those is so vast. It just feels so bad if you're not accelerating on turn 1 if you're playing Elves. Because your card quality on average, your card quality on average is so much lower than most other folks at a cPDH table that, like, if you're not getting out ahead of them to a really significant degree, you're just going to languish a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's very hard to not only like gain a foothold in the game, but like attack profitably, exchange resources effectively. Like these sorts of things become very difficult to do. So that brought me. So I started looking for ways that I could accelerate from the command zone, and I did this on like with the knowledge in the back of my mind that like I'm going to need to find a way to shore up the card advantage deficiency there, because like you have 2 main choke points, mana and cards, if you're playing Elves. Right. Like,
yep.
So I found that the most powerful draws that I was getting were the ones where I was ramping the hardest, and setting the pace to a really like insane degree. And that's kind of what drew me to Heritage Druid, because I don't think there's any card that can generate mana as effectively and fast as Heritage Druid can. Yeah.
So let's take a look at that one. This is a card that's going to be familiar to Legacy players, but like Heritage Druid has been, any format that it's been legal in is generally surrounded by a lot of other elves, and this card is just insane. You can produce so much mana with this, and I think what you're talking about with these like turn 1 accelerants is like we are always going to be mulliganing for basically like untapped land into Land of War Elves or Mystic, or
anything else.
Anything.
Like that's why like when Brothers War came out and you saw Sentinel Stalwart, the 1/1 that is basically like a Jasper Sentinel ability, right? You tap a creature artifact to generate a mana. Like it's so important, like having another dork that you can land on turn 1, even if it requires another creature to tap in order to use the ability. You're able to go mana positive on that on turn 2, which is like the important aspect of the card. Like if you have to tap another creature to do it, whatever, like you've got a million of them. Generating the mana is the important thing, and the ability to do it consistently is the most valuable aspect of it, to me anyway, from what I found. So when I started building Heritage Druid, there's a couple really important things about this card that are worth kind of keeping in the back of your mind. Is it accelerates your mana in 2 primary ways. So first, it functionally makes every single elf you have tap for 1 mana, if you think of it that way, just in groups, in batches of 3. So you have to tap 3 untapped elves to generate 3 mana. So they're each, if you want to break it down, individually generating 1 mana apiece. And the ability to have all of your creatures function as mana dorks is incredibly powerful. The other thing that doesn't get as much focus, I think, when you're looking at a card like this, is that it gets around Summoning Sickness. Because it's an activated ability. You're tapping the Elves as part of Heritage Druid's ability, which in itself does not tap to activate as an activated ability. So you can just keep landing things and tapping them as you go, and to make more and more mana and to deploy more and more cards.
Yeah, and that's you're talking about a snowball, basically.
Yeah, that's really the power of this card.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And I think what we're going to find is that this is probably leaning towards a more explosive outcome.
Yes.
Inherently more aggressive. and you're going to retain more vulnerability, I think, in some cases, to the sweepers, depending on when they come down and whether you have the answer for it or not. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at your list. We're gonna bop out of this here. Perfect. That works nice. Chat. It is so nice when the systems work. You spent endless hours working on these OBS systems.
You love to see it.
Okay, so do you have any custom tags here?
No, zero custom tags. I haven't. That's not me. I just jam everything into a pile, and that's what I go with.
Got it.
But so the first thing, this deck looks really weird. I think to a lot of your average cPDH players, like, it kind of shrugs off a lot of conventional wisdom in favor of trying to do something a little more imaginative, if that makes sense. It's very, let me put it this way, it's built to perform one primary play pattern. That's turn 1 land and a 1 mana value elf, any one, it doesn't matter. Then turn 2, you play a second land, and you play another 1 mana elf and Heritage Druid, tap them for 3 mana, deploy something. The turns where you can cast a turn 2 Timberwatch Elf, turn 2 Elvish Guidance, turn 2 Master Chef, turn 2 any 3 mana card. It just puts you so far ahead of the table. Like, you've got six mana value worth of permanents on the board at the end of your second turn. And it's really easy to leverage that into turn, like, okay, so let me put it this way. Ulamog's Crusher is like a very kind of run-of-the-mill, like, top-end kind of card. This deck can consistently cast it on turn 4. Very rarely will it need turn 5 to cast it. It's most of the time turn 4 if you have it. So you're getting these things online before people can kind of interact in a meaningful way. Sometimes they can, but you're forcing them to use their interaction on these things. And if they want to kill your payoffs, that's one thing. If they want to kill your other elves to try and shut you down, they're all interchangeable. So it kind of stresses interaction in that way too. The great thing about Heritage Druid, and what allows you to kind of salt to taste a little bit in terms of building around sweepers, is that it doesn't matter which 1-drops you have. You can play whichever ones you want to whatever metagame you play in. For example, like, Universal Automaton is an elf that's also a pirate, that's also a dragon. I took it out of this list recently to try another thing, but it was in there for a while. And that's like one way you can insulate a little bit against sweepers. There's also a lot of like 2 toughness elves that are very easy to get out of range. Things like Jasper Sentinel, Azuri's Archers, Scattershot Archers, which is like free anti-flying tech that you just get to play for free. There's no cost to doing it because you just want them to be 1 mana value. That's like the most important aspect of the card, really. So you have so much flexibility in how you use those slots that you can really kind of metagame a little bit. There's a lot of really niche 1 mana elves. Like in this list, if you look, there's a card called Save on Elves from the Dark. It's a 1 mana 1/1, and I think for 2 green you can tap it to destroy an enchant land.
I saw that
which
one.
Which is like a relevant ability.
So Saravan Elves, so this is and specifically if we look at how it's destroy target aura attached to a land, it says.
And since so much combo in this format is tied to land auras, like, it seems like a very reasonable card to play. There's no cost to doing it. It's absolutely free.
Right. It's essentially just, and in this list, like, the creatures don't necessarily need to produce mana. They just need to be cheap elves because the Heritage Druid is going to turn them into mana sources.
That's right. And Heritage Druid is so cheap that, like, you can recast it very, very easily. It's tough to, like, set you back in a meaningful way unless people, like, really punk you out. Which is not which is not like a thing that never happens, but, like, you know, there's a lot more play to it, I think, than at first glance.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, like, say you play a 6-turn game, you have an open hand, you see 13 cards, assuming you don't see any other cards in your deck, and you're going to be able to cast every single one of them. Guaranteed. And that's a kind of a, if you want to look at it as card advantage, like, it kind of is. If the game ends and if you kill your opponent and they have 7 cards in their hand, like, what does that mean?
And certain decks are ill prepared to handle this kind of thing. But also, like, a place where this kind of a deck thrives as well is being able to apply pressure to initiative decks. Although the question definitely becomes, like, is the cost worth it to you, because you're basically like suiciding your stuff in to get it.
Yeah.
And whether or not the initiative deck is a target, if you're at a table where the initiative deck is also the control deck and there isn't a combo player, this deck is gonna like be very adept at essentially like running through that and just claiming the initiative for yourself. Which is nice, because you are a low land count deck, so being able to find a land is often going to be a land that you didn't have to play. Because you know, I noticed here you have a 1.7 or 1.56 lands per opening hand, so we're looking at like that 1 to 2 lands per opening hand, leaning ever so slightly towards 2. But of course, we've got that ever present and very broken free mulligan that we have in cPDH that's going to allow us to do this. And even looking at this like sample hand here, let's just give this a quick roll here. So
this one's not bad.
You won't be able to see this here fully, so I'll just put the land on the far side here, just because of the way this video is cropped. But this hand has evasive creature. It has another mana producer, maybe not super relevant. Taunting Elf. We've got Wirewood Pride, so of course Taunting Elf plus Wirewood Pride is a board wipe. We've got Wirewood Herald, which can tutor us up an Elf. And then we've got Nissa's Chosen, which looks like...
the Elvish Warrior cards I like quite a bit in this deck, I'm not going to lie.
So if we just like ran this through a quick play test here, we go turn 1 this into, I presume, the Cittanul Stalwart.
I'd probably play that one.
And then turn 2, see that's actually a great draw. We go...
So now you're kind of slower by 1 turn, but even by doing that, you're still going to be ahead of the table by a turn, pretty much.
Oh, sorry, so we're going Taunting Elf, And then from here, we're going untap, and then it's basically...
You cast Druid and you're off to the races.
Druid, and then we have access to 1, 2, 4 mana here, or more actually, because we could leave this untapped. So we could go 1, 2, 3, so that's 3 mana, and we would play out... I presume it would be... Oh, we can actually get a 4th out here, so we would go Ledgewalker, and then we would have us 1 floating, 2 for...
I probably play the Warrior or the Nissa's
the Warrior. Yeah, we're playing both of them this turn though, right?
Yep.
And this is turn 3. So
and then turn 4 you can get aggressive.
Yeah, like we could.
Yeah, you can play that. You can cast Altasaur. You can cast both your pump spells to put through 6 damage apiece.
1, 2, 3, 3 mana, 4, 5, 6. So we're a little shy of... So let's see, do we need to run out another... So we actually wouldn't be able to do Altasaur here, would we? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, 7.
Yeah, you can cast
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 7. Altasaur, Cascade. Didn't want the land anyways.
Yeah, cascading past lands is awesome. Oh, Lyricist is good.
So Lyricist, what does this do? This is...
Destroy enchantment.
Destroy enchantment. Okay, cool. So we put these on the bottom.
Yep. And then you got a lot of gas in your hand going into turn 5.
Yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
Gas.
So you can see, chat, like this is definitely like my impression of what this is doing is that this is like Elves in cPDH at its most aggressive, and it reminds me a little bit of other decks that kind of accept their vulnerabilities and recognize that it's just going to cause them to lose sometimes. That wouldn't be my play style. I'd probably be leaning towards like the Zemek or something like that really gives us the Zemek one in particular is really appealing to me. But this is like undeniably powerful. I mean, we're looking at like you know, like even just like Might of the Masses and Wirewood Pride together right here. If we were to
kill someone dead, pretty much.
Yeah, we could cast this, double up on this on the Altasaur and hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, 24, 24
ish, yeah,
or
around about that. Yeah. Or you can do it on a Ledgewalker. That's why Ledgewalker is great, because it's hexproof and it has evasiveness.
Right.
That's why like Glade Cover Scout's another one of the cards around this deck, and also Glistener Elf is in this deck too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, these are great cards, and they're just like 1-drop elves, right? Like we're gonna play all of them. So this deck right here, I think, serves as a great opening for the stream, because we get to kind of talk about what cards we have available. But this one here, in my opinion, it looks like it's pretty well tuned. So let's take a quick look.
It's by far the most linear build I've come up with, and I actually prefer it that way. Like pump spells and tons of elves. Like there's I think maybe 4 or 5 pump spells in the deck, and they're all like average cast for 6 or 7 damage apiece. generally speaking. And then obviously that gets even better if you like are able to like nut Alyssal on a Hunt Master onto the board on turn 3, and just kind of go off there.
Very powerful for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to look at, and there's not a lot of these, you have Rapid Vigor in there is kind of one of the
protection
main
spells.
ones.
Blinding Fog was in the deck for a while, which is good because it's 3 mana, so it's clean. But it felt kind of like bloated on like interactive spells, and I just wanted to like push damage. So I feel like Rapid Vigor. Oh yeah, there were more spells. There were more interactive spells at one point.
Interesting.
And I just took them all out because I didn't want to whenever I was like drawing cards in the deck, like, you know, I posted on Twitter the other day like how it feels like the Powerball when you draw 5 off Lead the Stampede. Like that happens with this deck.
Easily, for sure.
Yeah.
You're at the math around Lead the Stampede and Winding Way is actually pretty easy to break down. In Pauper in 60 card, a really good example of it is Slivers. And in Slivers, if you want to consistently draw 2 to 3 cards off of Winding Way, which is 2 mana, dig 4, choose Lander, or you know whatever, the number you need to have to consistently do that is like 30 to 32 Slivers in the deck. And then you have 8 draw spells, maybe 7. You know, maybe you run like there's ways to like tool around with that a little bit, and then Lead the Stampede's the same way. Like these cards are really most powerful when they represent like draw that is way above the curve. So,
and like this deck has, I think, maybe, I'm just gonna ballpark because I don't know the exact number, maybe like 50 elves. There's 59 creatures in the deck. A number of them are not elves, like the big stuff like Altasaur, Maelstrom Colossus, Crusher, those sorts of things. But there's at least 50 elves in the deck, I'm like pretty sure.
And you have 59 creatures, so it looks like to me the only ones that aren't are going to be Vivian's Grizzly. So
that's a good one too.
2, amazing.
One half your next creatures.
3, 4, 5, 5 maybe.
Okay, better than I thought.
It might.
I swap cards in and out so often that I have a hard time keeping track. But like I said, like I just keep throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And what you said in the thread, because for a while, like with these sorts of decks, this one in particular, you know, there's so many specific cards that you want to try and find. That like cards like Commune with Nature seemed appealing for a while. You just dig for 5 cards and you pick a creature and draw and take it. But really, what you mentioned kind of talked about drawing more off creatures like Owlbear and you know, those sorts of things. And I came around to kind of that a little bit. I prefer that way of it. Like even like for cards like that, I've played Track Down in this list for a while. And it's a card that overperforms for me because like Scrying 3 is a lot of cards. People, it doesn't read like it's that powerful Scrying 3, but it's a lot. And when you're at the mercy of the top of your deck as much as you can be in a deck like this, Scrying 3 is really, really potent, and being able to draw a card off of it as well. But at the end of the day, like putting in a card that like Maelstrom Colossus that just cascades and you're always putting a spell, it doesn't matter what it is, just like keep putting things out rather than trying to engineer something, I think is a lot more valuable. So
I fully agree.
I've kind of pivoted back a little bit.
Right, and just to go back to that original discussion, I was trying to remember the discussion we had, but basically, so Derek had posted in Discord this list, and my impression of it was that I wanted an element of top end to it where there was a body, like a good body that came with a
lot leaner.
Right, and it was leaner, right? And so cards like Owlbear play into that a little bit, where essentially like there's no shortage of mana. And so being able to deploy these threats that are also drawing cards is really powerful. So I was actually kind of surprised to see some of these in here because it wasn't the way it looked
I went back through and changed some things around.
Annoyed Altasaur, Maelstrom Colossus, Owlbear.
Teacher Beast Caller is one that I just recently put in as well.
Yep.
But I never put in because I did not own one, and I basically update this list based off of what I own this deck in paper, so I just kind of updated about whatever's in the paper version, and I never had a Teacher Beast Caller, which is a great card that I always forgot to order whenever I place order for cards.
Right.
So now that I have one, it's in the deck and on the internet.
I wonder what sort of just to take a quick deep dive into this, like wonder what sort of X spells we have.
Not very many.
Not very many.
Thrive is probably the best one. Are you familiar with that card? It's green X, put a 1/1 counter on X target creatures. Which is not bad, but there's not a lot of good X spells in green at common.
How do you search for X in the cost? Do you know that? Is it like cost X?
I have no idea how to parse things in Scryfall.
My terms were ignored, chat. Do you see this? Scryfall did not like that.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like, you know how you can add in the mana symbols or whatever. I don't know if there's an X mana symbol search that you can put in.
I think there is one. I think chat may have an answer for us,
Okay.
but we can take a look here. By the way, for those of you that don't know, okay, so Time Painter Toonbird says mana is less than or equal to X. Is that what it is? It's really worth a look here at the syntax, because basically your ability to like find cards, it just goes up dramatically when you can
it's a reason that I very well may have missed something, so I'm happy.
So let's do that. Rarity, common, color equals, actually we could do color is less than or equal to green, because there may be an X spell and artifact that we could
these
see.
ones.
So we have a fog here that also hits them for damage. We have Ivy Elemental. We have Molder.
Couple exotic tokens,
So
just
like none of these are appealing to me. I don't see anything here that really strikes me. Now you're talking about blinding fog too.
Yeah, there's a period of time where I did have Ivy Elemental. I tested Ivy Elemental, and I was actually kind of impressed by it just because it scales to whatever you have, and it's just a big thing, which oftentimes is like good enough. But at the end of the day, like it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, blinding fog here. This does seem like a card I wouldn't leave home without, just because I am so concerned. I am the guy that plays the sweepers, so like I see this and I'm like salivating a little bit at the thought of just like wiping everything.
It's easy to like fall down this rabbit hole, just like trying to insulate so hard in a deck where you're supposed to be so aggressive that you kind of slot out more aggressive slots than you'd want to.
Now, that said, we only have one way in the whole deck to protect us from a sweeper.
Yep.
Right? We have just this one.
I mean, technically, in terms of like a spell that interacts with a sweeper, but there's a lot of ways in the creature base to get them out of range.
Interesting. So we're talking about Timberwatch Elf would be one.
There's a couple elves that when they enter, they put a 1/1 counter. Kujar Seat Sculptor is one. It has 2 toughness naturally, so like the floor on it is that it's an Elvish Warrior, which is pretty good. And it can put its counter somewhere else. Pollen Bright Druid is another one, and that one proliferates. And then you also have Guardian Gladewalker, which is a changeling, so it insulates that way, and also because it puts a counter on something when it enters. That effect's pretty good. And then you also have like Spider Silk Armor, Master Chef, like other ways that you can kind of get out of range. Ivy Lane Denizen. I mean, there's tons of ways to put counters on your creatures. So it's not like you have specific tools to get out of range of sweepers. It just kind of like ends up happening as you play. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Got it. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think were I building it, I would probably like swap out a hexproof spell, because the hexproof spells are basically the same thing. It's going to prevent damage to one thing, but in this case, it will actually keep the whole board alive. But I can totally understand just like maximizing efficiency and going for that.
Well, like with these cards, like Timberwatch Elf and like the powerful Elf cards are very singularly powerful and draw a lot of hate. So that's why I like the single target hexproof stuff. It's a lot cheaper.
Priest
puts
of
counters
Titania.
on stuff. Yeah, like Gaia's Blessing and Snakeskin Veil put counters on things too, so they can help boost your creatures that way. Like those sorts of things I like a lot as just like, just like blanking a removal spell that would prevent you from killing somebody with a Timberwatch Elf or something like that. Yeah, like those sorts of moments are worth, I think, protecting. Scion of the Wild is another great deep cut that I love. Another 3-drop that scales. I mean, you can attack with it as like a 6/6 on turn 3. Play it.
Wow. So the other thing that I'd love to look at too before we leave this one, and then we'll actually get into building a deck together, which is going to be super fun here.
I like black green.
And Jonathan, just as a response, we got Pod Kamorka in here. Welcome, my friend.
Welcome, Pod.
So Pod, we do have Wrap and Vigor. Yep, that is our one sort of dedicated anti-sweeper card.
And the thing that I think is deceptive about these cards is that they're not great. I mean, they do the thing that they protect creatures, but like this one not only protects your creatures, but it blanks the spell. So like you could be losing some ground that way, like by another person's board not being wiped that you may need to whatever.
Wait, it says, it's
all creatures. Yeah, it's not just yours.
I guess that could be an issue.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. It can come up, but I mean, for what you're using the spell for, it certainly does that. With Wrap and Vigor, I like it. I run it here just because it's a mana cheaper and it's easier to cast. Granted, like, sure, it's nice to have things at 3 mana because it's cleaner with Heritage Druid. But
that is true. I hadn't thought about that,
it requires you to have like 3 elves up, and for like that kind of thing, I'd rather have it castable with my lands rather than my creatures, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
going down a mana for Rapid Vigor, I think, is good. I think you pick up points there.
Yeah.
But with Rapid Vigor, I mean, it's something where they can use it. Your opponent could conceivably use a sweeper on your turn. You cast Rapid Vigor, it taps all your creatures because they regenerate, so it blanks you for that turn, which is kind of unfortunate. But I think as a card that kind of protects you from that kind of effect, I think Rapid Vigor is a little bit better just from the ease of casting standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. And I suspect you've hit all these. I wanted to do a quick look and see if there were any other draw spells that we got in green that would be worth looking into.
I mean, there's not many that I find compelling. I mean, all the elves that draw you card, except for the one with Volt, just because there's no way that you can trigger it yourself.
That's true. Although if you are alpha striking in, that is an option.
Right. I mean, practically speaking, there are going to be times where it comes up. I just find those kind of slots uneasy if I can't guarantee that I'm going to get the card off it, because otherwise it's kind of mopey.
Yeah. The card that I was actually looking at too that has been an amazing piece of tech. And chat.
Yeah, that card's awesome.
This card right now is lunacy. There's a lot of black in the format right now. Obviously, you don't blanket play this, but if you're in a meta where this is a thing, like this right here is insane. This is going to be like on the level of like Lead the Stampede good, and it could be even more, especially with the initiative right now. It produces a black skeleton creature token. So this is going to draw cards off of that. It's really only 4 mana, so it's kind of like going to be on rate with you come to a tavern. So yeah, we have a Time Painter Toonbird saying, "Are you running the 10 mana prototype guy? He has trample."
I did, and then I took it out. It doesn't draw me a card. It's just a big thing that sits around. It doesn't have haste. I mean, it's very powerful, but it's something that's very, very easy to interact with, and then you don't come out with anything to show for it if that happens, because it does. It's a lightning rod. It's a 10/10 trample. So like, I can see worlds where it would be powerful, but I just don't particularly like it. I much prefer things like Maelstrom Colossus, Annoyed Altasaur, things that draw you cards, or like give you a real resource. Yeah, I do want to say though, before we forget about the initiative specifically and how I conceptualize it here, because I know you asked about Huntmaster or Avenging Hunter. So with the initiative, I don't want to have it. I don't want to give it to myself because I don't want to be attacked. I want other people to attack each other, because the kind of trap people fall in when they conceptualize aggro decks in general is they think to themselves, I have to deal 90 points of damage, and that sounds too hard to do, so I'm not going to do it. But that's not true. Games, naturally, people take damage. It happens all the time. So all you have to do is just kill people. I mean, they're going to take incidental damage as the game progresses, and you can count on that. It happens unless you're in like a very, very specific pod. So
so the aggro deck isn't relying on that, and your worry is that if you're gaining the initiative while you're swinging out, that other people are going to gain it, and then or that they misfocus their attention on you. One of the things I've noticed.
The other part of it, if I could just interrupt,
Go ahead.
Also, so I don't see it as something that I will be holding on to. I pretty much own. So to me, I translate Avenging Hunter into 5 mana, 5/4 trample, get yourself a land. And I think to myself, is that good enough? And I don't think it is.
Interesting.
I'd much rather have something else, because my land count is so low that I'd much rather just like draw a random card and have it be a creature or a spell.
Have you tried it in the list before? This is not so much out of a place of like.
Oh no! I understand that. A lot of this deck is like very academic, if that hasn't become apparent in the way that I talk about it.
Sure.
It's very theory heavy, and so no, I have not done a lot of testing with the initiative stuff. I just convinced myself that it's not something that I want to devote a lot of time or energy to. And I mean, granted, like on its face, a 5/4 trampler for 5 that gets you a land might be good enough.
Well, it's going to be more than a land. I think that's part of the thing I would challenge here.
Well, yeah, I mean, right, but taking the initiative is not the objective that I'm going for. I mean, there are worlds where it can be, but I mean, I don't know.
It depends on how it depends on the board, but. The way that initiative tends to play out is different than Monarch. So in my experience, like the Monarch is not something you would. I mean, it's funny because the Monarch in this does actually it is an elf for one thing, which is weird, and it is a big body that actually blocks 2 things at once. So the turn it comes into play, it's not terribly easy to get it back from you. So maybe that's like an example of like one of the few examples where like an aggressive deck might actually want it, just because you
Entourage
are hungry
is
for.
pretty okay, yeah.
Yeah, so like Entourage of Trust is what I'm talking about here. Just for chat, I know you know this one. Entourage of, we'll just do of Trust here. So Entourage of Trust comes in, gain the Monarch. You can block 2 things at once and allocate the damage as you want. And it's drawing you a card. It's probably over the course of the game drawing you 3 cards, just because eventually you swing out at the person who regains it. But the main thing, though, when we're talking about the initiative, is that it's just a much more aggressive mechanic than the Monarch. And so it does actually fit in aggressive decks. And not to say that it necessarily needs to be in here, but the counters are highly relevant. The trap is highly relevant. If the person who you're beating down manages to come back and get it from you, and then you're regaining it from them, you're pressuring them while moving through it. The 4/1 is relevant. The goad sends people elsewhere, so if somebody does try to retaliate. And then, of course, the Throne of the Dead 3 is probably most often going to not hit something huge, but your deck is all creatures. You have a 100% success rate on hitting the Throne of the Dead 3. So I think those things are all compelling to me enough that if I were running this deck, I would probably running both the Entourage, just purely out of the fact that it probably draws me 2 cards. I think that's fair to think that it would draw 2 cards. Also, because you're the aggro deck, you should not be the target. If we think about it from a political standpoint, you should not be the target in a game. There are going to be people who try to contain you, but I'm perfectly happy when I'm playing if you're throwing yourself at like the person who is presenting a combo. Right. And so in that case, a lot of times what I've done has been negotiating to take small amounts of damage for people to take it from me. And then basically, essentially like trading it between a person without actually committing heavy damage. Like I'm not saying I'm going to focus to get it back from you. I'm going to say, I'm going to hit you with this 1/1. And your deck has so many 1/1s where you say, instead of coming at you with everything I've got right now, I'm just going to send this 1/1. And then that sort of an idea. So
I think there's something to that, and I, it very well. It just, the way that I thought about it was just like I don't want to concern myself with playing these sub games. I just want to like attack people, and like kill people dead. But I don't think I think everything that you just said there makes perfect sense. And I'm sure there like is a world where like I play both those cards, and I very well may, as time goes on, and I kind of get a feel for how they fit in the larger scheme of things. But I mean, just where I'm at now, I got into a bunch.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So chat, if you want to take a look at this list here, I'm going to drop a link for you. Here is Derek's. This is the Heritage Druid deck, and go take a look at that on Moxfield. Make sure to follow him as well on that. What we're going to proceed into next, now that we have a good sense of kind of like what some of these like staple elf cards are, is first of all, I'm actually going to go ahead and export this list right here, so that we can use some of these staples and not have to start from scratch. And we're going to go ahead and build some other versions. And admittedly, I was going to start with Miara Numa. I actually am more excited about Zemek now. Because I think Zemek, I was reading Numa, and one of the funny things about Numa is that you have to be in combat to get that ability. And that to me, it opens up the opportunity for blowouts where you like invest heavily in trying to sink your mana into all these things. And I'm not talking about like a mid-range elf deck, but I am talking about one that does lean towards having like a degree of like resilience through interaction, or more resilience, I guess, than what we were looking at before.
And the tough thing about, I mean, Miara and Numa are both very powerful cards, and they do very powerful things. They take advantage of all the best parts about playing elves, but they are very, very mana intensive. Like you were saying before, like leaving the mana up so you can draw your cards off. Miara, you need, I think it's double X to put counters on stuff with Numa. So it's a lot of keeping your mana up and for those things rather than. And I think there's a lot of tension between those commanders and like the Elves archetype itself, like what those cards want you to do. And granted, like they can be very powerful in context, but I think it's much tougher to strike that balance. I think Zemek is much easier and lets you play a lot of really busted stuff.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna get access to some of the most powerful draw spells in the format, but we're also if it was something concerning to us, we could also have a limited number of counter spells in the deck. We probably want to go real light on it, but basically ways to just like have a slight hedge against those spells. But again, this is going to be mostly green. This is going to be kind of like your Elves decks in Pauper, where it truly is a green deck that splashes in blue, and sometimes they have some weird sideboard stuff. Chris Lively says, "Welp, if we're in blue, time for Distant Melody and 4-mana draw 6." Absolutely.
Just throw them in.
Yep, he knows it. Yep, this is Distant Melody time. We're also going to play Keep Watch because this is going to be basically the same thing. A lot of people don't know too. Keep Watch does not have to be your creatures. So if somebody does like swing at you big, you can use this. Like last time I used this, I just like drew 3 at instant speed from somebody else attacking somebody else, and I just wanted more cards, and I had the 3 mana up, and it felt great. You know. So I think that's a good one there. Okay, so of these here, we have Presence of Gond. What was the thought around Presence of Gond? Is this?
You could backdoor into Devoted Druid combo. It's very easy to do because it just, I mean, you're playing all the cards anyway. It's Devoted Druid and Ivy Denizen, Presence of Gond. You can generate infinite tokens. You're playing both those cards anyway, and Presence of Gond is a really clean 3-mana spell. So it seems like very, very inconsequential to just put it in there as like a backdoor kind of thing. Yeah,
it's also just like making more bodies.
I mean, I've put it on Nettle Sentinel before and just like generate 3 bodies a turn or something like that. Yeah, it's people look at combos like this and they think, okay, this is how I win the game, but you can just do them for value. Like Banishing Neck is a great value thing to do a lot of the time, even if you're not winning the game with it, and so is Presence of Gond. Like you can just generate tons of value off these things, even if you're not winning the game outright with them.
Yeah, Banishing Neck is so appealing because it's also just a removal spell. Like
Banishing Neck is actually in blue-green Elves might be actually something very worth considering with Nettle Sentinel.
Yeah, for sure.
That intrigues me quite a bit.
Okay, so some of the cards that I think we would probably cut if we were going to Zemek would be like something like Strength of Numbers. We would probably Vitalize is an amazing ritual. It's so powerful in this deck. I think we keep all this hexproof stuff. I think we might end up looking at
Aspect of Hydra. You could probably cut. That one's pretty niche.
What's Chorus of Might? It's a
that gets trample though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's 4 mana though. It's hugely expensive.
But it's very easy to cast. I mean, 4 mana is not much when you're dealing with elves. So like. Yeah,
gotta make sure we're not on the digital cards. It's something that a little pet peeve of mine, chat, is when the cards have. I'll show you the little digital tiny text. Oh my god, it is such an irritating thing. Okay, so this stays the same here, and actually, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start organizing these into categories. Start with this one here. So man, Scryfall Moxfield quite slow today. It's running a little ragged. Okay, there we go. And then a feature that a lot of people don't know about is you can actually drag these over into these categories. So if you're in a place where you can't see the category, you can actually just pull it over here and visually drag it. Distant Melody over into Draw. We're going to do Lead the Stampede into Draw. And then we're going to go through and find the rest of it. So we're going to get...
and a lot of these creatures are going to be gone. I don't think there's a reason to run a ton of these ones if we're doing different things. Like a lot of the 1-drops, for example, cut just because they serve a different purpose in a deck like this than they do in Heritage Druid.
Interesting. Yeah, because in Heritage Druid, you're really trying to like flood out the board. Now, at the same time, though, the fact that they're just like elves is still probably good enough here, I would
sometimes
think.
For a lot of them it is, but you don't need, like, for example, like in Heritage Druid I run specifically 22 lands, and I think about the same amount of 1-drops, maybe a hair less. I want to go and kind of look at that, but basically enough to you know, make it so that most of the time you're going to hit 2 lands and 2 1-drops by your second turn to hit that 3 mana burst.
Got it. We're getting just a quick report from chat here saying that the stream is getting a little bit choppy here. So let me take a look here. We got, looks like it should be coming through good. I'm not getting any warnings on my end. Let me see here.
No. I mean, you sound fine to me now. Maybe you cut out a touch, but you seem fine now.
Let's see here. I want to make sure everything is working fine. Not that I actually have anything to actually do to fix it if there is an issue. It just sort of is the way it is, if that's the problem. Seb, can you let me know in chat what it is you're experiencing there? You said it's getting a little choppy. Are you all able to run it on 1080p? And if not, just let me know. It's good for next time. So, and sorry about that. I'm not sure exactly. I'm seeing 4,000 kilobits per second coming through on my end, but you never know when you're doing this stuff. So, okay. So, I was just realizing here that Fierce Empath, this is actually this is a tutor.
It sure is.
Tutors. It makes me wonder with that, like, are there creatures that we could tutor for that would have a relevant adventure effect?
Adventure? Yeah, there's a Sorko Serpent.
Yeah.
Dreadlenorm, which I did have in my deck for a while, and then I cut it. Yeah, those two are probably the best.
Yeah, I like the Serpent. That's not that we don't want a lot of interaction in this deck in terms of removal, but I think having a way
to on the creatures is good.
Yeah, and it's a big creature, right? It's a really big creature. So
yeah, that's the thing to keep in mind with and you learn this a lot playing mono green when you have things like Speed and Winding Way, and you meet in a tavern, like you're blowing through all your non-creature spells. So as many effects as you can tack on your creatures is preferable.
Yeah, absolutely. So Visionary, drop that in there. We've got Devoted Druid. We've got, I think those are the main ones. None of these draw cards. Okay, cool. So a little bit of a draw suite here. We've got Keep Watch, and I think that's the mainstay of it. Okay, and then do we have all the forest type creature? Because we're gonna want to be able to find our 2 dual lands in this deck.
Wood Elves is the best.
Yep, Wood Elves definitely there.
It gets any forest.
Elvish Aberration would be a good one.
Yeah. If you're searching up like dual lands, then there's another one too. There's a 7-mana that forest cycles as well. There's 2 forest cyclers at common.
Got it. Okay.
That's like a big beefy creature in its own right. It's kind of a mopey just because a 6/6 for 7, but it does forest cycle.
It does forest cycle, yeah, and it does produce a lot of mana too, which that could be relevant. It's mainly the forest cycling that appeals to me. So if we actually did need to find if we had the case where we had Fierce Empath in hand and we had Distant Melody, then what it would allow us to do is chain Fierce Empath into the Elvish Aberration, forest cycle for our duel, and then be able to cast our Distant Melody, and all of that weird stuff there makes sense if you're about to draw 12 cards.
And if you think of it this way, like in a deck like this, we're going to be leaning really heavy on our green mana, and so like there are not going to be a ton of blue lands in the deck. There's not going to be room for them. So like being able to find your blue like that is really good. That's why like Sylvan Ranger card 2. It just tutors up a basic, but it's a 2-mana 1/1 that draws you a basic. So I mean that card is very playable.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, actually now if we were going into 2 colors, then the Avenging Hunter finding an island could actually be enormously valuable. Yeah, I was also looking at Elvish Branchbender. This one here, target forest becoming basically a massive elf.
It might be better in this deck. It's not good in mine because I've only got like 1 or 2 forests on the board at any given time. But in this deck, it might be better.
Target forest becomes
an XX. A big O.
Oh, but it's based on the elves, not the number of lands, though.
Right. I know. It's just I use my lands for so many things that I just it pinches me a little bit. It's not the most reliable card in my list. It might be better here because we're playing a lot more lands. I only run 22 in Heritage Druid, so there's not a lot of. It's not as appealing.
What do you think about the Silverglade Elemental? This is a little spendy, but it is a 4/4. This is a card that often appeals to me because it's essentially like a ramp spell that is potentially fixing our mana because it's getting a forest card.
What I might encourage is we kind of figure out our elf suite before we move into the big things we want to ramp into, to kind of get an idea of how many slots we have to work with once we get the core of the deck together. I think once we have a better idea of how like the central core of the deck looks, then we can kind of trim our ramp targets or our ramp.
So then let's start with this then. If you were switching over into this version of the deck, which would you be cutting? Which elves would you be cutting to make room for other things? Would it be?
Let's see. I would keep Herder. Herder is really good.
Just go through these one by one.
Yeah, maybe Skysweeper.
Yep, I think that one can go. Like a card like this, yeah, I think that one can go.
Yeah, blue has a lot of good tools, like the reach stuff, like there's archers perhaps.
Because those
like
ones are just there for being a 1-mana elf, right?
Yeah, and mono green, you have some issues with flyers sometimes, so like those cards are much more valuable to other things.
I really like the idea, by the way, of Glistener Elf, just like always threatening to just
it just
kill
randomly
somebody.
will kill people, yeah.
Yeah, like they don't block it, might of the masses, you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I really like that.
Llanowar Stalker probably could go because we're not going like that low to the ground and aggressive as I am doing in my list. I mean, maybe you feel differently. It can be kind of unreliable sometimes.
Interesting. It seems like if we are...
There's a 2-mana card that does something very similar, but it's better. It's a 2-mana 2/1 that has... What is it? The new Capenna mechanic. Whenever a creature enters, it gets +1 to 1 to turn.
Got it.
It's like a better version of that card.
Okay, and then we've got the Death Touch there, which is also quite nice. Attendance Socialite's the one you're talking about. Yeah, this is a great card. Yeah, I like them both, to be honest. I like that just is like passively.
Yeah, I'm a fan of both of them, for sure. It just kind of depends on how aggressive you're trying to be, because Stalker becomes irrelevant much faster than Socialite does.
Yeah, well, it can get blocked and killed by anything, but whatever it does block...
It can trade up very easily.
It can trade up, and I think I do quite like that in this, list. Yeah.
Card obviously is great. The Warriors...
God, I have like an unreasonable love of this card. And this is...
It's very functional. That's why I like it.
Yeah, no, and actually for chat, I started playing Magic and Invasion, and one of the first decks there were kind of 2 decks that I built that were like my first decks ever. And one of them was a burn deck that was just there was no creatures in it, and the only non-instant or sorcery spell was a single copy of Form of the Dragon. Nice. The deck was not good, with no reliability. Are you casting Form of the Dragon? But I was really compelled by the idea of just being invincible, and I was 7 at the time, so fuck it, like it. And the other deck that I built was Elves, and actually that deck was exceptionally functional. And Elvish Warrior always just felt like the fucking coolest card ever. Right. So big shout out to Elvish Warrior for just being like one
of like those early like above rate creatures that didn't pop up. Like when creatures were garbage, having a creature above rate was pretty cool. And granted, like it's not like an exciting card, but it serves a very specific purpose. It's a 2-mana creature that doesn't die to a breath weapon. I mean, it's very, very serviceable, and it attacks well, particularly with Zamek. So.
Yeah, absolutely, all of that.
Vandal's great. This is chosen just another Elvish Warrior that puts itself back in your deck when it dies.
Yeah, so are we excited about that? Is that a
I don't know what density of these effects you want necessarily, but in my list, they purpose that may change in this one just because we have access to different kinds of creatures.
Right. I mean, it is kind of nice that if somebody does sweep our board, we're going to draw a creature, which I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's also a 2/3. I mean,
you could do worse. I mean,
I don't know. It wouldn't be the first on my cut.
Right.
Sculptor of Winter. So this works really nicely with Elvish Guidance, but like
maybe you don't need it though. I mean, oftentimes you have enough mana to where you don't need to like untap Elvish Guidance a bunch of times.
We also don't need to cut it yet, like because there's going to be other cuts here.
Seeker I like a lot. Ledgewalker obviously is good.
So many of the elf abilities require tapping.
Yeah, and so that's like Query Ranger is busted. I mean, that enables some of your most powerful draws, like by Picture Mile. Yeah,
it's insane. That card is cracked. Sign of the Wild is interesting. So this is going to come out as like a 6/6 usually.
You play it on turn 3, like in Heritage Druid, for example. You cast it on turn 2 with that 3-mana burst that you get. So you have 4 creatures that you untap with it 4, and then you just deploy more threats and attacks for something as something much larger.
I like it.
Yeah.
We are okay. So like very little of this top end would I ever cut, and we're actually at 100 cards. Is the funny thing, but we need lands.
Yeah, it's a tight list for sure.
Crusher. Okay, so let's talk about Crusher. Is this so in 60 card Crusher just dunks on people because you exhume it into play on like turn 1, 2, or 3, and you destroy your opponent's lands. And so, like, functionally, it's a little bit like, it's actually like the whole point of the deck is land destruction. because if
Right.
you destroy your opponent's lands, then they can't kill it, and so it doesn't need haste to. Here, if we're deploying it, I guess if we're getting it really early, but
like as I mentioned earlier, when like Rust Goliath was brought up, like I kind of don't like these kind of cards that just kind of come in and sit around until you start attacking with them. But the thing about Crusher is that it sits at a mana value where you can very easily cast it on turn 4, whereas Rust Goliath is much more difficult to do that. So I think that's why I find this card a little bit more valuable. But ultimately, like, you know, it's the most easy to cut part of the top end, in my opinion.
I think that's my thought too, and we're not making as much mana as Heritage Druid is as regularly. I think that's my main thing. So let's take a look here. So we're going to do type Elf. We're just going to look for type Elf in. I'm wondering if there's anything that's like.
There's a couple of good Simic ones. Coiling Oracle, first of all, is one that is kind of a shoe-in my opinion.
Oh, it's just a.
It's an Elvish Visionary that can ramp you if you hit a land.
Yeah, that's great.
There's Gaia's Skyfoe, the 2/2 flyer from Apocalypse, blue-green 2/2 flyer.
Let's see if we get down to the
an elf merfolk.
We need to organize this by color, I think. So we go advanced. So we want order by color, search. Just because I want to see the blue. I want to see what blue elves we have available. Oh, we need to type elf because it reset that there. Okay. So
Investigator's like a good like mana sink.
Interesting.
If you're in the market for it, I mean it's low on the curve.
It's cheap.
And it's cheap.
I don't hate it. We'll throw it in for now.
Winter Eladrin is a new one. It's a Mana War. That's an elf.
Yeah, I really like this one in particular because it's flickerable. It's up to, whereas Mana War it's a must. You actually do have to bounce something. So and maybe something like this is. We'll throw it in for now. I don't think we necessarily need it. But like if we are going to have removal, it's going to be a bounce spell and it's going to be on a creature.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, like if you're going to have interactive elements, it's better to have them on your creatures.
Yeah.
Just because you can find them a lot easier.
Boreal Druid's kind of weird because we don't have a lot of colorless costs.
I don't like Boreal Druid because you need colored pips early on to really function. I took it out here exactly that reason.
Yeah. That totally makes sense to me. Okay, so we have.
That might be all the blue ones. There are not many.
Defiant Elf is kind of interesting, just having the trample.
It's cute. I've played around with that one a little bit. Defiant Elf and Land War, something or other. There's another one that has a kicker, but it's a base 1/1 trampler from Invasion. And those are good ones just to kind of like get people to pump spells.
Yep, that's right. We have Chris Lively saying Crown of Vigor. Absolutely something we could consider. Let's see.
If you're going higher on the curve, like Elderleaf Mentor is a little bit better. It's a 4-mana 3/2 that makes a token when it enters.
Yep.
Yeah, Entourage.
I'm not necessarily sold on this, but I just want to like see it in the list.
Oh, it's certainly an idea worth exploring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Farhaven might be better in this deck than Druid.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's terribly useful in your version.
Yeah. No, the thing about Wood Elves is it enters untapped, so it gives you another resource. It gives you an elf you can tap for mana and a tap for
right, and so often you're not hitting your land drops that it's going to be +1 mana. So that's great. What else do we have here? Vigilance, creatures. Is it creatures you control?
A 4-mana
ally. It has to be ally creatures.
Oh, right, because that's one of the older allies.
Yeah, the newer allies they do it for creatures you control and ally.
And that's kind of the interesting thing. Yeah, like the interesting about Tajuru Beastmaster is that you can also it gives you more creatures to play things like Universal Automaton or Wood Changeling because they are elves that get around sweepers and they are also allies that.
They are allies.
Yeah.
So we have Marcus Steinfelder here asking, do you have Elvish Pioneer in the list? That one allows you to put a land into from your hand into play. That's probably not something we need just because we're going to be low land count. I think that there's going to be a lot of cases where we have that and it just doesn't put anything into play. But
I've played a little bit with Elvish Pioneer, and when it does put a land into play, it's powerful. But when it doesn't, it's just kind of stupid.
Yeah.
It just feels bad.
It just sucks. Yeah. No, that's reasonable. So we have here Llanowar Empath. I wonder.
I like that card a lot.
You do? Okay, scry 2.
Yeah.
It's going to be a creature. You will find a creature off of that.
Yeah, it does everything that I was talking about earlier with scrying, and also like shares a body.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're not looking at anything that's like terribly new here as it as it pertains to these Elfball lists. But it is something interesting to just like look at.
Rift Sower might be good in a list like this. It caps for any color. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like Rift Sower actually.
Yeah, I think it's good here.
Yeah, it's a good card.
So Evolves Enforcer is another one I tried a little bit. It gets into like attacking stats. It partly draws everybody a card, but it also gets up to like a 4/4 pretty easily. But you know, it's not the most.
Yeah, my worry just like we have access to blue, so we can play just like
it's not necessary in a deck like this.
Yeah. Marcus asks about Vitalize and Mobilize. Yep, we have both of those.
Great cards.
Yep, excellent thought there. Stonewood Invoker has this, but it's only itself, which I don't.
And it doesn't trample either.
Yeah. Yeah, we're probably. Oh, Treetop Scout is pretty cool.
Yes, those ones are good.
This is amazing right now too because Initiative and Monarch
I took. There's another one that does the same thing. Fire Tracer. I took them out of my deck a while ago to try things. I might put them currently on to kind of explore a little bit. The one, okay, if you scroll up a little bit, there's the Elf Berserker. That one's good too. Wildlife Friendship Project, but Treetop Ambusher. So this card is really interesting. It's a really aggressive card, but it dashes, so you can keep casting it. If you have something like Lissalana Huntmaster, you can cast it turn for a token. So it helps you kind of grind a little bit if you don't have a lot to do with your mana. It's kind of a niche card, but it has some cool application.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely an interesting one. We'll put this in considering. With stuff like the Attendant Socialite and the other one, that's kind of nice too.
It does really well there too. And then there's the Vine Shaper, the one for Dominator United with the blue kicker that lets you.
Vine Shaper.
Yeah,
so
I like
that
Impulse. Too. Yeah, it's an Impulse.
A little bit less, I guess.
Like in Anticipate, I guess. But
Anticipate. That's
I mean, if you're looking for more draw on your creatures specifically, that's like.
Let's add this one to considering here. We have Well-Wisher, of course.
Wild Witch Tracker's another great aggressive one.
Attacks and blocks. If you control another non-human creature, it gets +1/+1. So it's a 2/2 when it attacks.
It's a 2/2 attacker, yeah.
Okay.
And blocker actually too.
Yep. God, one of my favorite elves, honestly, is Wirewood Savage. I love this card. Crazy powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've gotten to the end of that list there. That was that's a nice little dive into this. I like both of these here. The Soul Knife Spy probably doesn't connect, right?
I don't think it's very good. Yeah, I don't think it's connect very often.
No.
And it's easy to kill. 2 toughness. I mean, if it was like a 2/3, the 3 toughness, like Scroll Thief cards, I like the 3 toughness ones a lot better. But I don't like Soul Knife Spy very much. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're gonna go up on lands here to basically. And the funny thing is, we won't be able to see our number to get this, but I think I'd like this at 2. Which would be probably like 28 lands, I want to say. I'm not
It seems
certain
reasonable
on that, I think, but we'll do the math on that to figure out where that is. We won't be able to see that yet because we have 12 extra cards in the deck, and that messes with our averages.
There's some other good lands that you can use, like Holdout Settlement, for example, and there's a where you tap it and an untapped creature to generate a mana of any color. Like the lands that enter untapped that you can use to generate, which are not bad, particularly since you have so many creatures that aren't really doing that a lot of the time until you kind of piece together your combats.
Absolutely. So I wanted to mention here, so Marcus asked about Wirewood Pride. We do have that in here. Chris Lively also says 28 is the number for 2.0. Yep, so that's kind of what I've gone for in decks that have really low land counts, is that 28. So we'll focus around cutting back to that. Finhorn Brownie says Survivor's Encampment is the other as a way to produce blue. I think that we're going to be fine on producing blue, right? Because we're going to go... So let's go down on this here. Chat, if you don't know, by the way, Alt-2, when you're hovering over a card in Moxfield, reduces the count of a card. Alt-1 increases it.
So I guess you just want to keep in mind that you want to cast Zamek oftentimes before you cast a lot of Elves. So you want to play it earlier rather than later, which means you want access to it earlier too. And there's ways to do that, like with your creatures, like Sentinel Stalwart, Jasper Sentinel, Virtual Rangers, like those cards can turn into blue mana very easily. Holdout Settlement and Spire's Encampment also are good lands that do that. But yeah, you kind of have to keep that in mind too, like when you need your blue mana.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to run Command Tower here too.
Yeah, and Command Tower is going too. Oddly enough, Command Tower is like the one land that I always, because it's like so obvious, I just don't think about it.
Right. Yeah. No, I actually had somebody ask me in Discord today. They're like, "Hey, I was looking at your Rilsa Rail deck. Is there any reason you don't have Command Tower?" And I was like, I'm pretty sure there isn't. Embarrassing moments where it's like I've been playing with this deck for like a while now, and it just like didn't have Command Tower in it.
Just don't mess up. Keep it a secret. Take it to your grave.
Yeah, I know. So I did have to ask myself if there was a reason why though, because the deck does have some effects that really care about swamps. So there is that. It's mostly a black deck, so that kind of made some sense. Okay, so
by the way, before we go any further, when we were pulling cards to consider, did we get Spire Tracer? Is that an elf? I'm pretty sure it is.
Spire Tracer.
Spire Tracer. It's like the same thing as Treetop Scout, except yeah, that guy. There's two of them.
Got it. Yeah, I like it. That's great. Yeah. I think that these evasive creatures are going to serve us really well. The other, so let's go and add in the 2 initiative cards because they are fixing our mana. So that would be AAR.
AAR, yeah.
Aaron.
That's right. That's exactly
For those of you who've seen the Key and Peele episode. Aaron. Okay, we got Air Crocker Sneak in there too. I don't think that's like something we need to like super heavy into, but I think that finding that island is pretty nice. Okay, so 15 cuts. And then this will be a wrap, and we'll move on to the next one. I'd love after this to look into the 5-color elves.
Yeah, that's cool, right?
That is really exciting to me. Yeah. Okay.
Let me say this: Gruul, I've actually spent some time with. There aren't any really good elf commanders, but we get Rada downshifted to uncommon with Dominaria remastered. So another dork in the command zone. It's very reasonable. Right.
That one produces a red and a green every time you attack.
2 red when it attacks, which you have to use in combat, but it does tap for a green by itself. And like I said, like having a mana dork in the zone is you're trying to set pace.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. And then the other option would be something like
Bloodbraid.
Yeah, Bloodbraid Elf, yeah. Although I think that I'm not sure what red is really giving us other than like burn that I really
get,
want.
Tactics and Volatile Claws and like those.
Oh, you get Song of Blood.
Yeah, you get a lot of good like Trumpet
Blast.
Things.
Yeah, you get my favorite Trumpet Blast chat, which we're going to be. This is actually a fun little segue here. I am going to be beginning to do YouTube Shorts here pretty soon, and my first YouTube short is going to be on this this card.
Card's amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Every piece of it.
The Volatile Claws. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Volatile Claws grants you the ability to dodge Dragon's Breath as well, or Breath Weapon and Fiery Cannonade, as well as cards like Victim of Night, which kills a specific creature type.
Yeah.
It dodges Eye Blight's Ending. It dodges Rend Flesh. It dodges Eye Blight's Massacre as well. So this card is really powerful. It's like a dynamic like Trumpet Blast. It also can like save your board. So anyways, we got some questions here. We got Finhorn Brownie saying Rada Coalition Warlord can act like a Timberwatch elf.
That card's very good
do some work.
Yeah.
So what is this, Rada?
It's the one where it taps and it gives a creature whenever it becomes tapped, rather, which is an important clause. It gives another creature plus X, where X is the number of basic land type. So the floor on it is when it becomes tapped, it gives a thing +2/+2.
And it's only +2/+2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're tapping it to other things like Jasper Sentinel, Stalwart, like using it to generate mana, you just like passively bump up your stuff.
It's interesting. Domain stuff just suffers so hard.
It doesn't read very powerful, but like you can enable some really interesting stuff with it.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like Rada Heir to Keld would probably be the way though.
Yeah, that would be my go-to if I were to.
Yeah. The only worry though too is like you know, we want green so bad, and our commander asking for red in the command zone also just seems like really kind of scary. And it's only producing red when it attacks. Oh, yeah, that's
but
a
I mean,
tough sell
that's not why
sure.
you play it. I mean, that's mostly just
it's because it's a Gruul.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that stuff goes away when you go phase of combat, right? But just like I said, like having something in the command zone, always have to tap for mana is very powerful.
Yeah, for sure. We got Marcus asking, there isn't enough good support for Halar to be competitive, unfortunately. Let's take a look here. Halar is the one that, I just never liked this spell.
It's a little slim. The effect is very powerful, but it's tough to enable.
Yeah.
You have to run a lot of bad cards to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thing. Is like when I think about cPDH, like a really important thing we got to consider is like there's there's synergy, and then there's like card quality, and there are cards that are generically powerful, like Pestilence, generically powerful spell. Like it's either going to kill your opponent, or it's going to wipe their board. It's going to do busted stuff, right? Or a card like Secrets of the Golden City. Another like 3 mana draw 3, right? Which actually, by the way, Secrets of the Golden City, it is 2 blue, but we are going to have Ascend pretty regularly. That's kind of an interesting thought. But like Halar leans heavy on the synergy side, and so when you're playing this card, you have to play a lot of, like you were talking about, like kind of generically bad cards that become good when you have Halar. But when you don't have Halar, then they're bad, and that feels really bad. So
it just and the payoff is that it gets a little bit bigger and does damage to each opponent, and you have to do that a bunch of times. And the thing about it is that, like you're saying, like running bad cards for the purposes of like exploring synergy, like there's a way to do that in a fashion where you're not relying so heavily on things like I watched the game that you played with Noyork, and he has Norback Rhino, and he was casting like Canopy Claws on Norback Rhino. Loses flying from a creature, but you target Norback Rhino and it draws a card, and it has flashback. So I mean, you have a bad card, but it draws you 2. So like that's all of a sudden worth playing if you
absolutely
in a situation like that, because you can transition it into other things. Whereas if you're playing kind of these generically unimpressive kicker spells, like not only are they very expensive, generally speaking, to cast spells with kicker, but you need Halar to survive to do it. And Gruul, that can be a tall order. It's the most important card of your deck by a significant, and it's easy to exploit that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a really good place to see that is with Torwauki as well. The example with the Gnarlback Rhino is really well taken. It's just that the synergy there is so easy and so free, and such a huge payoff. Like, you're like 2 mana draw 2 at instant speed. In Tor, we have a similar thing where it's like, well, if Tor isn't on the battlefield, we want to make sure that our kill spells still kill things, right? Whereas if we lean really heavily into some of these like high payoff cards, like for example, the cute stuff like Forked Bolt, where you're like 1 mana, deal 2 damage to 3 things, is like, that's really good. Like that's like strong. You've got cards like Fungal Infection, or you've got cards like even Chandra's Pyro Helix or Lava Dart, where it's like, if we lean too heavily into the synergy, then what happens is that people get really smart about the fact that the deck doesn't work without Tor. That is not good. So like, this deck does still have Terminate. It has Go for the Throat. We have like a Braid and Scred and things like that are like still just gonna kill something dead. So that we don't just have to have Tor out. But I wanted to illustrate that point because I think it's one that oftentimes divides cPDH and PDH. Is that there's like, you might have in PDH more latitude to play into pure synergy stuff, whereas in cPDH you're going to see more of like a maybe 75-25 on like high payoff versus like a requirement to get there.
People are going to know what you're up to pretty quick. You have to make sure that what you're doing is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so looking at this list again here, let's figure out what we're going to cut to make space for all of this stuff here. And while you provide some recommendations here, I'm going to do some more organization.
So like whenever it comes down to cutting some stuff, if we're cutting like a pump spell, Aspect of Hydra is probably the worst one, because it goes off devotion rather than like creature count. So that's usually one that I is always kind of like on the chopping block if I'm something.
How many of these do we want is like part of the question. Like it'd be nice to have like 1 or 2.
So like, I think 1 or 2 is certainly appropriate. Wirewood Pride and Might of the Masses are the best. I would probably keep those.
Yeah. It's interesting though. So Aspect of the Hydra, like, is always going to be one green for every creature. So it does measure every creature in play, unless you have like a blue creature. But we actually have more green creatures in the deck than we have blue creatures. And Aspect of the Hydra is sometimes more, and we don't have all elves. It's mostly elves, right? So maybe
I guess let's cut Wirewood Pride for now.
Okay.
Depending on like what our top end looks like and how many non-elves.
Yeah. So we have Tamiyo's Safekeeping, Vines of Vastwood, Snakeskin Veil. We are missing Ranger's Guile.
Ranger's Guile, yeah.
Not Rager.
Yeah, and this is something that I don't run just because, like, to me it's the worst of these effects, and I just have to cut something at some point, you know. So that's why I don't run it.
Of course, that makes sense. The question is, is it better than Gaia's Gift?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that was kind of the thought, was comparing it to that.
Because this thing gets trample and a counter, like, that's very valuable. Like, being able to give you, a lot of these things do not naturally have trample, and it's hard to push through without it sometimes. That's why, like, Elvish Herder is so powerful, because it gives it something trample for one creature.
Got it. Yeah. No, that all makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
Are there any? We've added a lot of really high quality.
You probably don't need Vivian's
spells.
Grizzly if you don't have a card draw issue. I think Vivian's Grizzly.
I think that's part of the thing, is like that. My thought is to go and look at the cards to say, like, 4 mana ETB draw card, and maybe cut those ones, and then just instead have
those aren't nearly as important in a deck where you have access to blue cards. That's true.
Yeah, Arcane Investigator draws as well. I actually think I missed some of the ones that we just added here.
Like, the mana sinks are important. I think Arcane Investigator is fairly good.
Where is the Entourage of Trust? There we go.
Yeah.
Entourage of Trust. There's also the other Monarch Staunch Throne Guard, and then
I don't know if you need both though.
Yeah, I don't know that we want to lean deep into that. Like, the only reason we would play Entourage is because it's not likely going to be a draw one. It probably, because you play it and it doesn't have haste, so you're going to block, and it can block 2 things, so you're probably going to draw more than 1 off of that card. And so, like, a 5 mana 4/4 draw 2 is probably okay. It is on the cutting block too, just because if we give it away, then we are really feeding our opponents.
Yeah, I think particularly because you have the blue spells and you get, like, Coiling Oracle to help short up a little bit. I don't think you need Jiraga Visionary or Shaman of Spring.
Yeah, these are definitely
I mean, and to a certain extent, maybe or Empath. I do like it because it dries. I think, like I said, I think that's really valuable. But again, if you don't need that as much, then it's certainly much less important to have it.
I think we can find a better blue draw spell. Something that's just like really, really high volume. Like, is there anything that draws off of the number of creatures you have in play?
I doubt it. There's like, Russian Knowledge, 8-drop into play on turn 5 or whatever.
Right. We don't have anything consistently big. Rush of Knowledge is based on CMC.
Right.
So, so we want to do draw. This is going to be, so let's say just like 3. And that's going to be
Frantic Search is pretty good.
Frantic Search, although Frantic Search is going to be card disadvantage
stuff, but
which I tend,
I guess it depends if you're going for like velocity.
I tend to lean away from those because I really value card advantage. Shared Discovery. This is what I was looking for.
One. Yes,
this is insane. 1 mana draw 3 Ancestral Recall is dumb. Secrets of the Golden City having 2 blue is pretty concerning to me.
I probably want to come back to it if we need it, but I don't think.
And we don't want to go super heavy into like non-creature spells. I think that's another thing that we want to keep in mind.
That's an important point. There was a time where, like, graveyard stuff I found very good. Like, even a mono green, like Roots of Wisdom and Tapping at the and Grapple with the Past. Like, those 3 cards together synergize very well off of each other. Because, like, Roots of Wisdom and Grapple, they mill 3 cards, but then you can choose any card, any creature or land card in your graveyard. It doesn't have to be the one that was. So you can either use it as a recursion spell or like a proactive draw kind of spell like that. Tapping at the Window just like digs 3 cards deep and gets you a creature and the rest go in the yard. So like those 3 cards are a good package, but I don't think we need that here.
Yeah, the blue is getting us access to such a better quality of draw spell. We have HH here, which I believe is Let me just check really quick. I think I know this is Obstinance. Is that Obstinance? I think I recognize your image there on your YouTube. So anyways, welcome. Glad to have you here. We do have Distant Melody. Yep. That was one of the early reasons that we wanted to go into blue.
Yeah, it's like big number one.
It is like one of the reasons, I would say. So other things that we might have here too. I mean,
not really.
Like, Mole Drifter has never been a bad card. And being a flyer right now is just like insane. And we do have the mana to just like very easily cast it.
True, that's true.
Which is cool. Like I actually like that over some of the other draw spells we had that were creatures because it's not an elf.
Those,
right, and we can like hit it off of so many different things here. Yavimaya Elder, I don't think we're into.
Yeah, he's not.
But I think the Mole Drifter, we can play this.
Yeah, it's generically powerful enough to where it's.
This is really funny. So for chat, there's a really excellent content producer out there named Bosch and Roll, and Bosch and Roll makes some of the finest Legacy content out there. And I really like watching Legacy. I don't play it because it's just like pointless. I don't have anywhere near the kind of money to play that.
Yeah.
At least not in paper. But one of the funny things that's happened in Legacy, and he was exploring this, is that the Elves decks have very few Elves in them anymore. They're like a Fiend Artisan deck that happens to have some really powerful Elves in it. It's pretty funny. Like they have it's really like a Gaia's Cradle deck. And so Elves in Legacy is shifted away from that. And this right here isn't going to be that because we are going to be an Elves deck, but like there's elements of this where we don't have to be dogmatic about playing only Elves in this deck for it to function well and be powerful.
I think looking at it, you may even be able to cut. I mean, I think Vivian's Grizzly is an easy cut based on the other things that we have. I mean, it's a good mana sink, but like we have a lot of ways to creatures. I think there's other ways we can use our mana sinks. And Multani's Acolyte might not be
right because it's sacrificing itself.
Yeah, it sets you back a turn if you want to keep it, or not a whole turn, but like it takes you mana. It's in your draw section.
Oh, it is there. I was just like really struggling to find it.
Yeah, I played it in Air de Jeu out of more of a necessity. It's not an optimal card, just because of the echo.
So maybe we are cutting some of the more aggressive cards from this, just not because we're not an aggro deck.
I guess you have to consider like when in the game are you looking to like put together these large these impactful combats.
Like Glistener Elf gets a lot worse now that we've cut like some of these. So I think that can go. I really like the Flyers because it's just generically powerful right now.
And Gaia's Skyfolk, I know I mentioned earlier, but I don't think we have that one.
Skyfolk.
I'm pretty sure it's an Elf Merfolk.
Yeah, I know which card you're.
It's a 2/2 for 2 that flies.
That's great. Yeah,
it's a good aggressive card. Yeah.
So instead of having like hyper aggressive stuff, we're gonna have stuff that's evasive, and then basically Zemek is gonna make them big.
I think that's a good path to take.
Cool. So let's divide this out a little bit more. We're gonna go life gain. I like to organize that kind of stuff. Well-Wisher also going into life gain, and then I'm getting rid of the Lyricist because what I want to put instead is Conclave Naturalists.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This is actually a card that we're Conclave. This is a card that I'm seeing more and more of right now.
Yeah, this card.
It's a Dryad. It's not an Elf.
It's not an Elf, but it is a 5. It's a 4/4 that kills a thing, and it's not a bad place to be.
It's a 4/4, which is like really big. Like I've definitely gotten like clapped by this thing, but I thought it was an Elf. So let me see if there's a They should just downshift Reclamation Sage. I mean, it's just
I know, I love it.
So Elf Destroy will Destroy. I always do this.
Destroy,
it's
Replica. It's like a serviceable card, but it's nothing impressive.
No, I'm not super hot on that. Chris Lively in all caps saying downshift Rex Sage. You know it, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Give it to me.
Give it straight into my veins.
I need it in my deck. I would like it, please.
Every green deck in the entire format would probably be wanting to play that card.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so something like Stalker could potentially go, as well as the Socialite.
Possibly, yeah.
This one does get toughness as well, so that's like
yeah. I mean, that's why it's much better. But you know, again, if we're trying to lean into more like things and kind of pull out that way, it's probably
this,
better to
Nightblade or Blightblade. Like Death Touch is kind of nice.
Yeah, I like the card quite a bit. It attacks well. It is the reason why. I mean, it's not something that people want to block, and it blocks well too. Double duty. Clay Walker can probably go.
Yeah. I love Masked Vandal. This is going to go under... I forgot that we had this card.
Yeah,
Naturalize. Yeah, super strong. So this one here could... needs to be paired with Conclave Naturalists. And then... Okay, cool. So keep going down the line. This one here...
It's another Elvish Warrior. The reason why this is important is because it's a 1/2 base that comes with a counter. Like, worst case scenario, the full on it is a 2/3.
I like it. Proliferate. This one here...
It's better in this than it is in Heritage Druid, that's for sure. Because Zamek puts counters and you can cards.
Oh my god. Okay, wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we gotta go down the Proliferate route.
Oh, sure.
I mean, like, that's so fucking busted with Zamek, right? Like, I mean,
is
it though?
It's very mana hungry because it's 2 mana to draw a card, and it's colored mana too. So it can be. I don't know. I can think of situations where like you on your mana to like do this a lot, like move a lot of counters at once. But I think some amount of it is certainly fine. I don't think there are any like really compelling creatures that do it besides Pollen Bright Druid. There's a fight spell that does it, but that's like the kind of interaction we want to be on. I don't
Bloom
think.
Hulk is probably as good as it gets.
Yeah, it's probably the best one. I mean, I honestly, yeah, I mean, outside of Pollen Bright Druid, I think that's the second best.
I like that because so with Zamek, you're not able to put things on after they come in, but and once they're in with however many counters, right?
Yeah.
Like, so something like Bloom Hulk, where you're able to just like make them bigger from there, is kind of nice. So Zamek is an interesting. I was just thinking about this. Zamek is so. I was just thinking about the play patterns actually here.
Yeah.
So you're getting Zamek out, and you want lots of mana to like cast creatures into your counters.
Yeah.
To get the counters then. So you don't get on the board that fast, do you?
Most likely not. You're probably looking like if you cast Zamek on turn 2 and you've got the 1-drops are obviously best because you can turn 3 activate it, play a 1-drop. It just taxes your mana less if you're using it to do it on one mana value creature. But yeah, it can be mana hungry. I think it might be, if you want to up 1-drop accelerants, you can play like Utopia Sprawl, like those sorts of things. But I don't know.
So this is making me wonder about whether there's another Simic elf that would give us the ability to just make mana.
I don't think there is.
Interesting.
I could be wrong, but I don't think there is.
Ironically, Coiling Oracle is an uncommon.
Yeah.
So like, Bramblewood Paragons, each elf warrior.
It's funny. There's actually a lot of really good warrior synergies. I worked with like a card. I forget what it's called. Decorated Veteran or something like that. It's a 2-mana warrior that whenever a warrior gets a counter, it gets huge real fast. A lot of elves are warriors. You just don't even realize it.
Right. There's the Frilled Mystic, but again, that's like not...
Yeah, that's not what we want to be on.
It's not an elf in the sense that it does elf things. It just happens to be an elf because it's a mutant. I wonder, okay, well, what about the partners, too? Like, could it be something like Numa, and then a blue partner? That isn't an elf?
Possibly.
I guess I'm having a bit of an epiphany here that the Zamek thing, you need to have Zamek.
No, I mean, I think Zamek is really good. It kind of shore up your early turns to be able to maximize it when you cast it. Again, like it's tough, but I think it's very doable. Yeah,
you were mentioning the pip requirements, and the blue pip requirement is hard.
Like doing it a lot. Like for example, like activating Zamek Guildmage and then casting like 2 or 3 elves that all enter with a counter is very good. Like drawing bulk cards off of it with its ability is a much harder ask, but I don't think that's something that we're going to be doing anyway. I think it's mostly just going to be something that we use every once in a while to supplement the card draw that we already have. So I wouldn't be too scared of the requirements. just because I don't think we're going to be like spamming mana into it. I don't think that wants us to do. I think we just want to like have things enter with the counter. Sometimes too, so much mana. Yeah, I'd be careful like to not over.
Yeah. I guess I was just having a bit of a come to Jesus moment there of like wait, how does this actually play out? Because you need the Zemek out first, right? And so
again, like this is why I find
Heritage Druid's a lot.
We have a mana dork in the command zone. It really smooths things out. But like if you're able to shore up your mana in other ways, like I said, like if we cast like or if we add in like a Utopia Sprawl, like the 1 mana enchantments that can accelerate us, just to kind of like make sure a proper density, so we're always, or like statistically, like almost always having at least 1 mana accelerate in our opening hand. Maybe something worth looking at, just to kind of make sure that we can cast Zemek and Mage and start putting counters on our creatures at a reasonable time.
Yep, absolutely. Chris Lively, we do have Masked Vandal in the deck. It is there. So then, okay, so I'm finding myself wanting to look at 5-color elves now.
Yeah.
And maybe bouncing off of this for the moment and coming back to it. My enthusiasm is a little curbed, just a little bit from the play pattern. Like it's not nearly as clean as Heritage Druid.
Right. It's nothing is going to be as clean as Heritage Druid. Heritage Druid is
full gas
magic card. Yeah.
It is. It's 1 mana and it's just insane. So
but again, like exactly what you're going through right now is exactly.
Yeah, I'm basically like reliving publicly in front of these fine folks in chat what you've already done. This and it's helpful for people to see this process because
right.
when we're building decks, it's there's a story to the deck building that a lot of times when people provide recommendations on cards, they don't actually know how is it you got to where you were.
Right. And, like I said with Heritage Druid, like a lot of it is very like theory based, very academic. It's not stuff that you would learn or kind of like understand naturally, intuitively, just from like just engaging in conversation on tryhards, just like discussing decks. Like it has a lot of concepts, and incorporates a lot of concepts are not very well explored.
Yeah, no, it kind of reminds me a bit of when I built Sailor's Bane, because my first build of Sailor's Bane was like I looked at it and I was like, this is fucking stupid, and this is a Xerox deck, right? We play every single cantrip, we play every single self-mill spell because milling 3 with like Otherworldly Gaze is like a 3 mana permanent ritual. Like you just it's insane. And it was very theory based. And the funny thing is that when I did that, the first couple of games I played with it were really an interesting lesson. And the more I played with it, the more I had to back off of the Xerox plan and actually have like defensive elements to it, because people see this 7/7 Ward 4 land, and they don't care what's on the battlefield. Like suddenly you are like the most terrifying thing, even if you're communicating with them that you're not attacking them. And so like my newest build of that deck, for example, was like a rubber meets the pavement, where I like left the theory behind a little bit and went into having cards like that are like roadblocks. There's some there's other things in the deck.
And that's like a really great story. Like with this Heritage Druid deck, I have it thumbing through in front of me, a copy. But years ago on PDH Homebase, I wrote an article about Loyal Apprentice. Basically, just like how if you're playing this card, you can just like play it super linear, and here are the play patterns that you want to do. You just kind of figure out the deck, and then you build it to that thing as consistent as possible. And you can even if it's like a strategy that is, pretty opaquely, less powerful than something else at the table. Like you get points based on the fact that you can execute it every time.
Yep, absolutely. And that's like that's this deck, right?
And
like
you have to know what you can play around and what you can't play around. And just like if sometimes you just don't have the card slots to like, play to those outs. You just have to press the gas even harder.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of cPDH decks that are doing a similar thing right now. You got Dargo Ketis doing that. And like they do find success usually in the fact that like they go really fucking hard, they get neutered, and then people forget about them, and then they clean up the scraps. And that is like a reasonable strategy. But like this deck is like purpose built to deploy Sailor's Bane on turn 3, and it will do so at the cost of like gushing away its lands It will like daze mana rocks. Like you're just everything about this is like get this fucking turtle on the battlefield and start hitting people. And this is the way the deck looks now. You have 29 cantrips. You've got just like insane speed here. But the version of you just get them right. And actually that deck list is optimal if you're playing in a combo meta. If you're for example in like the PDH Homebase and you're playing over there where it's like Simic combo shit all over the place, like you would absolutely thrash people. Like that deck tears it up when people are like not playing creatures on the board. Like you're like,
and that's again like that's why Elves is so I think has so much potential, because like there's so many Elves that just have so much applications that you can salt to taste to an insane. Like you can customize really.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just we'll be going back to the 5-color elves here, but I wanted to put a bow tie on that by showing the V2 of Sailor's Bane, and this is what I've been experimenting with. Is like we actually have creatures, we have blockers, and we have cards like Iceberg Cancerix, which like turn 2 is an amazing way to like basically ensure that the Sailor's Bane is always free.
Oh, I love the Modern Age. That's a great include.
Modern Age is so good in this deck.
Those cards I think are very good. I want to. I wish I see. I love those sagas that transform. They're really powerful.
They're so good. Yeah, the fact that you can't kill them when they come out is actually kind of like a big deal.
And that one just loots you twice.
Yeah, exactly. It just loots you twice. We even have Serpentine Curve for a second copy of Sailor's Bane.
But like, and this is great right here, because like once you realize that what you want to be doing is blocking, you can all of a sudden like a Shield Wall Sentinel package becomes a very real thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Shield Wall Sentinel finds Merfolk Secret Keeper. I believe it does, Elise. This is a defender.
Academy Wall.
No, it doesn't. Wall. It finds Academy Wall, Mnemonic Wall.
And both of those are very good.
Yeah. Even it's just.
And you can even find more ways to customize it. I think. Having a clear focus on what you're looking to accomplish gives you such a clarity of purpose in terms of like what cards you want to.
Totally. And I think it just illustrates kind of like the salt to taste element of it, but also like the idea that once you take that academic thing and you apply it, then you find like where it like where those rub points are and where you're able to like cure them. And so this is
that's exactly what happened with Heritage and the trample problem. Like sometimes you just need trample, and finding ways to get it in there is a lot more valuable than people. It's the same kind of.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's do 5-color. Let's figure out what we can do here.
I don't even know what 5-color options there are.
So identity is going to equal.
There's the red dragon thing, and there's the white knight creature that turns into an angel or something like that. I don't know anything.
So there's a number of different options.
Oh, there's like Transguild Courier and like the Sphinx.
There's Sphinx of the Guild Pact, which is also really appealing. We have a couple of different ones. So this is going to be, we need to do type creature. Okay, so we could have removal in the command zone. I really don't like Flesh Former though. I think this card is like very bad.
I would honestly probably go either Phoenix. Fly.
Which one? Sorry.
Or I guess the dragon too. Either Paragon, Dragon Soul Knight, or Phoenix.
The Sphinx is really nice because with all the mana that we produce,
that's true. We can ramp it out like really
ramp it out. Like
I didn't consider that. But I changed my vote. I changed my pick.
When I was thinking about this, and when the first idea came around, like based on you and then somebody in chat mentioning like 5-color elves, Sphinx was the first thought, because it's such a beast. I mean, it's 5/5. Like this is where the elves that actually put a counter into play might actually be good, because if you get into a 6/6, then it's a 3-shot. It's like never dying to anything except for like sweepers. It's never gonna die to edicts because our creature has fucking a fuckzillion of creatures. Like,
you don't need to tell me. I'm on board.
Yeah, this is the one. So, and it's funny because this isn't the first time I've built a Sphinx deck that was like where like the Sphinx just like happens to be this amazing thing in the command zone. So Sphinx
actually works out really well. Like being able to go into 5-color, you pick up a lot of things like Elf of Deep Shadow is another 1-drop.
Oh, that's right.
Really, like I can't stress enough. Like the 1-drop accelerants are soul of the decks.
You want every single one of them.
Like I said, like the delta between the hands where you have them and don't is so broad. Like it's really wild how like the power level of your hand changes if you do or do not accelerate on turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I think what we do in this list is that we completely ignore the fact that we have Sphinx, and we just build a good elf deck with all the best payoffs.
Yeah.
Whatever like the best protection spells. Like I was thinking a good protection spell for this deck would be Wail of the Nim, which is a sweeper as well as being regenerate each creature.
Yeah, like that. Or even, you know, like a lot of the time you just need to get a
like Volatile
candidate
Claws.
range. You can play Volatile Claws. You can also play. There's the Shields of Velasfell is also like too.
Yep. So we're looking for CMC equals 1, type elf, O. So actually, we could, you know, this is kind of a fun thing for those of you who don't know. Function mana dork.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a new thing. I shouldn't say it's new, but it's new to me, and apparently it's new to a lot of people. That you can do function mana dork. You can also do function mana rock. You can do function removal. You can do function, and it's a custom thing. So
I will say, as a point of context here, cards like Sentinel Stalwart and Jasper Sentinel, I feel like don't get the respect that they deserve.
Really?
But yeah, I feel like the tap and untapped artifact or tap and untapped creature you control, I feel like people just shred that off a lot of the time, but they are very, very real. Particularly because they had 1 mana of any color first. And second, they're just a higher density. So I don't think people conceptualize.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
They're very, very good.
And you know, to this point, like there is a part of me that almost on principle wants to add Boreal Druid, just because it is like another 1 mana dork. But the thing is that so many of our plays are going to be colored sources. And so, you know, it might be better that we just have some auras on lands or something.
Possibly.
So Marcus Steinfelder says, functions are card tags from Tagger. I don't know what Tagger is, but I've been kind of wondering about the origin of that. It seems like a community-led kind of a thing where maybe people are, you know, going in and doing this themselves. Okay, so what if we are, is there any reason
there's a lot of 2-mana accelerants too.
Yeah, I was thinking about this.
Like Druid of the Anima, there's one that does multi-colors from Apocalypse, or Borg Elf, I believe is the name of it.
I really like, I think it's fine to play a bunch of these twos.
I think so too.
I think we might actually, maybe the answer is that we really, if we are gonna, here's a thought. Maybe in Zemek, what we need to do is go heavy into 2s as well. So that we can like go, right, we can just like run up the curve. Yeah, because
I think that's worth exploring for sure.
Because like you're saying, like because the games where you have a turn 1 mana dork are so much different, and it's going to be the same with a turn 2 mana rock, right, or a turn 2 dork, right?
That's a good way to think about it.
So, so which ones do we want? This
for this, I think
looks amazing.
I think that one's good. Druid of the Anima, I think, is good, just to give you access to more colored pips. Quirion Elves is good too, because you can choose a color. It taps for a green, and then one of a.
Oh yeah, that's great.
And then Urborg Elf and Skyshot Elf. Skyshot Elf filters your mana into red and white, and Urborg Elf just taps for multi-colors.
Oh, that's a great one. I like Urborg Elf a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got
Quirion Explorer might be interesting.
I do think this is going to be good. This is probably going to tap for
color. I think that's a good one.
I think it doesn't tap for green a lot. That's the only thing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Because green is not super common cPDH, and it's not because green is bad. I want to be really clear about this, chat. The idea that any
green
color
is not bad.
No, and I know you know this. This is like, but like I've been seeing this for all of the years I've been playing cPDH now, is people calling colors bad, and it's utter nonsense. Like, but the fact is that there's not a lot of green, and so this is not going to tap for green often, but it will tap for everything else. Probably.
Green cards do specific things, and it's about finding what those things are.
Yep. You know, the nice thing about this is white, if we do have any of that. Oh, you know what's cool in 5-color is we get all the duels. So
that's pretty good. Yeah,
that's pretty good, and we get ways to tutor for them.
What else gets better? Who to thunk it?
Yeah, for sure. What about Llanowar Dead only makes black? I'm not.
That one's a little specific because you need specifically black and green to cast it, so I'm less high on that. I do like Druid of the Cowl like in a vacuum.
1/3.
It's a 3 toughness 2-drop. So it's dirty.
Yeah, and then I mean we could consider like Leaf Gilder.
I think everything else on this page is decidedly much less interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
The 2 toughness ones are the next I'd include, again, like for that extra point of toughness. Like Blight Soil Druid, even though you pay a life, and the 1/2 2-mana thing that extra mana.
Okay.
Yeah, Rift Sower is great here. Star Fletcher is good because you choose the color, it taps for you choose, and it's a 1/3 with reach as well.
Let's see. Choose a color. You know, the card that I've actually been gravitating to in some lists is Deathbloom Gardener. The
No, I
Death
think
Touch
that
is
card's
like
pretty good.
remarkable. It's so good. So we could consider that too. I don't
Yeah,
know that
touch
we
for
want to
any
go.
color as well. Yeah.
So here's another thought too. So
Yeah.
we will be able to play cranial plating in this deck, which is kind of interesting. And the reason I think of it, and it's
interesting.
It's a weird thought because cranial plating wants to be around a lot of artifacts, which namely usually is rocks, and usually like cranial plating and Sphinx of the Guild Pact go together because you play a lot of rocks. We're not going to be playing rocks though, but it does make me wonder about like any sort of like equipment like that we suddenly get access to because we're just happen to be in black as well. And actually, I'm going to drop a link here for chat just to get them looking at the list here. Chat, this is the Sphinx Elves.
Yeah. It's
There
really
we go.
tough, like narrowing down
what's
things that we're
good
gonna ramp into. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems to me that we would cut anything that's not like a really amazing elf, right?
Like the low cost aggressive stuff we cut, like Spire
So like
Tracer,
the trample,
Stalker. Maybe, yeah, might have wanted. It's just a very powerful bit. But things like
this produces black. Oh,
yeah, Elves produces two shadow does black. Yeah,
I'm not as into that suddenly. You know, because it's like black. How much of our deck is actually black?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it'll be
like it's not going to allow us to go.
I guess like if we're playing LCD Shadow, we should be playing Boreal Druid, right? Like they do basically the same thing.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because they're
yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, but you know what? Here's the thing. Like in this deck, maybe it's worth it. Maybe
That's
we
true.
crank out like a turn 4 Sphinx, and it's just like, let's go. Like,
yeah, I think it's certainly worth.
Okay, yeah,
that's a good point.
Let's just put in Boreal Druid for the moment here, and I will need to go take a bio break here real quick, and then I'll be back.
I'll do the same.
Yeah, you can just and chat. We're gonna be right back. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna be going a little bit longer here building this deck, so hang in there, and we'll be right back. So we're gonna go back in the waiting lobby, and
Thanks for staying.
All right, chat. I am back. I'm gonna take a moment here, and I'm gonna gotta get a little grub in my face here while we make this deck. This deck building stuff is thirsty and hungry work. We got my little block of fine Dubliner cheese here. Make a little cracker snack. Boy, I'm pretty hype on this 5-color kind of a thing here.
No, right, back.
You're all good. No worries. I was just kind of gabbing with chat, letting them know that I was going to be making a little bit of cheese and crackers here while we do our thing.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
What I'm going to do too is let's go ahead and add you as a, what's your, you're called Reed?
Just Dear Reader, DEAR.
Dear.
Or...
Okay, cool. So one thing you need to do is go onto Moxfield and follow me, and then I can add you as a collaborator, and then we can build this together at the same time.
All right, what do I do now?
So if you follow me, then you got me on follow?
Oh, maybe I do. Hold on, I don't know. What is your name?
It's called, it's just Papa Popper.
Oh, okay.
You can only collaborate with people who are followers.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, there you are, follow. All right, there we go.
Bingo. Okay, cool. I'll refresh here, and then we'll go Dear Reader. There we go. Bingo. So add that there. You'll get a little notification. And then once you get that notification, you go there, and it'll say, do you want to collaborate? Accept the invitation, and then you'll be in.
All right. Oh, I have to do a pending request. I will.
Yep. Bingo.
All right.
See, chat. Moxfield is just one of the coolest pieces of software we have gotten in Magic the Gathering ever. Like on so many different levels. I really do hope someday that we get a nice little corporate sponsorship from them, because this is a tool that we actively use around here.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking is that we were talking about like Elves Deep Shadow and Boreal Druid. We are playing a higher density of 2-mana spells, so they're less dead. Yeah,
that's a really good point. Yeah,
they curve
that's
into
a really good point.
They curve into the 3-drops like the Death Touch guy or.
So let's go and take a look here at all the duels.
Yep.
I don't know that we want all of these, but we'll cut them as necessary.
Yeah, the thing I found, I mean, granted, maybe it's not the issue that I was running into. Lands that are tapped, like, if the goal is to be so far ahead of the curve, like, granted, like, playing a tap land doesn't like, get back too far, but it certainly impacts the pace that you're setting if you have to turn off to play your land.
Yep.
That's why, like, yeah, the only non-force path band, the benefits of that card so far outweigh like being behind a turn.
Yeah. Real quick, your mic is cutting out every once in a while. You just bring it a little closer. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah,
that should help a little bit.
Perfect. Yeah, no problem.
So Bloom Hulk comes out in this build.
Oh, and you know, oh no, it's a human. Screw it. Never mind. I was going to say something. Card
what
does not
about
work.
type elf that is not green? So is not color equals green? This is kind of an interesting search.
Yeah, there's a lot of Encore creatures, like the black Encore Elves. There's 2 of those, and one that when it dies, it makes 3 tokens. I think.
Huntmaster is insane.
Yeah,
this card is so good.
That's the one. The Outrider, the 5 mana deal damage to everybody.
We can tutor for this with Wirewood Herald.
Yeah. We sure can, yeah. You're going a little more Mar something. Outrider, Maria's Outrider.
Oh, Muriez.
Yeah, that card's interesting.
Oh yeah, especially if we're like getting aggressive.
Oh, you know what's an elf? Roving Harper, isn't it?
Oh, you're right. Absolutely, Roving Harper.
That's a good one too.
We have there's not like a huge number of them.
Right, yeah, there definitely are not.
We're not going to do the discard stuff. That's not.
No, it's
not terribly good. Oh, this Celebrity Fencer though.
Oh yes, that card.
Damn, that's another copy of Timberwatch, or no, of what's
Elvish, Vanguard.
Vanguard, yeah, Vanguard.
Yeah. Yeah, that card can get out of hand pretty quick.
I'm actually like low-key in love with this already.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with it. It's really cool. Yeah, just like a lot of the interactive protection spells, and I mean, there's even like pump spells and that. Like, there's a lot that we get like Teamer Battle Rage, if that matters.
Oh God, yeah, it's just like have TBR, and you're like, God,
Yeah,
that's funny. Glintleaf Ambush.
No,
I don't think we want that.
it's not a body. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
I was kind of going down the line of like tutor targets for
Yeah, I'm trying to
for that,
think.
but yeah. Okay, and then in terms of protection, we want so like creatures. So it's going to be O regenerate, regen O creatures. Let's see if there's anything in that that we get.
Oh, there's like Dark Dabbling is one. That is Spell Mastery, but I mean. So
Oh,
it's not
Dark
that
Dabbling,
great.
yeah. Mhm.
If we had Spell Mastery, it's quite good, but otherwise it's not that.
How many instant sorceries do we have? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably not.
definitely added to considering. I don't know how we're going to, but you know. It's
Yeah,
not the
I
worst
mean, it
card.
does like also draw a card, which is kind of nice. 3 mana
Yeah.
though, like why wouldn't we just play Blinding Fog?
Right. Elvish Hex Hunter might be worth it. I mean, it takes the Elvish Lyris spot. You know, the sacrifice destroy an enchantment, but it's a hybrid white green.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like Pestilence kills you, so having a way to deal with it is nice.
What
Yeah,
about what other ways are there to like protect from sweepers? We want Volatile Claws.
Yeah, like the Rap and Vigor stuff that we talked about earlier.
Basically, any copy of Rap and Vigor, I think like we would want to consider.
Yeah. The one that gives everything +0/+1. Shields of Elisvel, the creature types, and +1 toughness. That's only one white mana, so it's very, very cool.
Oh,
You don't have to leaving mana up sucks when you're trying to deploy so.
when you're trying to like kill people.
Yeah, so you want to just get away with leaving up as little mana to protect your board. Or like Llanowar Knight is just like a white green 2/2 pro black. Like it's not like the worst card.
Interesting.
No.
There's also a Call to Glory, which is 1 and a white. Untap all creatures you
Oh
control.
yeah.
That's kind of disgusting.
Oh, you know what? Isn't there like a white combat trick gives a creature +3/+3 and the rest of your board +1/+1?
Oh, is
There's
Sigil
a lot of effects like that.
Sigil
Blessing.
Sigil
possibly?
Blessing. Yep.
Yeah.
And we are going to play Eye Blight's Massacre. That's right, Chris.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Naya Hushblade is another. Well, I guess only if you have multicolor create permanents, but like we would conceivably, so it'd be a 3/2 Shroud for 2.
We also get all of the crown effects, like Betrothed of Fire.
Oh
And,
yeah, that stuff's good. I like that stuff.
That's like pretty heavy.
Yeah. We also have Safehold Elite as a persist creature. It's
Oh, yeah.
interesting way to get around like sweepers and things.
Yep.
So let's Evangel. I like that card, but Samala Woodshaper is a decent card. Forgot about that one. It's a 2/1 for 4, 2 green white. You look at the top 4, take a creature or an enchantment.
Oh yeah.
I like that card quite a bit.
We also have Mobilize, which we didn't have in the deck before.
Oh yeah.
Untap all
Mobilize.
creatures. We have
That stuff. There's not a ton here. Yeah, I think we've
Oh,
got all
man.
the big cards.
Siege Zombie,
Oh hell yeah, get that in there. I love that
right?
card.
Each
Throw it in
opponent. Oh yeah. See, this is a Siege Zombie
that's
is
a
a little
good
tech that I
condition.
used in 60 card.
Yeah.
Because if they've got fogs, right, and they're like preventing you from going to
Yeah, I
combat.
jammed this into a lot of like commander decks, like regular
Yeah.
commander decks. It's very good.
Yeah,
it's very
a
good.
really powerful card.
Yeah.
Okay, then we've got here's another one.
Warflare seems pretty.
Village
interesting.
Spellringer, dude. Damn. 3 mana flash, enters the battlefield, untap all creatures you control.
Yeah,
That's kind of savage.
that's good.
War Flare. Holy shit.
Yeah, untap all your stuff. Get them, put 2/1.
Yeah. This is spicy.
Yeah.
There's some really spicy stuff in here.
Yeah, it's gonna be really hard to kind of select down to what kind of these, what suite of these effects we kind of keep in. I think as far as like the infrastructure goes, like all the mana dorks that we've selected, I think.
Like the deck could be almost purely mana dorks.
Yeah, exactly. If we're just trying to get up to like a handful of payoffs.
Oh, you know what? Those creatures that you can sink mana into to buff.
Good too, right?
Mm-hmm. The crowns are good. Like this gives them all flying.
Yeah, the red one gives them +1/+0 and first strike.
Yep. First strike. Crown of Vigor gives them just +1/+1.
Yeah.
That one's not as good.
No. Maybe Crown of Awe. I mean, that's more. I probably
we can suspicion away our own board.
Oh hell yeah, that sounds good.
That's hype.
Yeah. Yeah, these cards are interesting, but I don't think they're.
Hey, though.
That's the best one by a long shot, but I think we have. There's so many other ways that we can insulate our board without having to like devote card slots to an aura.
Yeah. This is a maybe.
Yeah.
And this is a maybe too. Flying is pretty good.
That's true. The flying is important.
Like flying Alpha Strike, you're dead.
Yeah, especially since we're not like going the really aggressive route. If we have like an army attack with them.
Dude, Timberwatch Elf and Wildheart Invoker look disgusting when paired with Sphinx.
Yeah, Wildheart Invoker's a house.
Like we just sink our mana into buffing the Sphinx up and then kill somebody.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. We're at 135. Okay, so we need to start trimming stuff down. So what don't we need? Probably don't need Taunting Elf.
Like Taunting Elf, like anything that's not like really...
The aggressively slanted ones, we definitely don't. Fire Tracer, Treetop Scout, probably not.
Yeah.
If we're leaning more on Sphinx.
It's really funny to do Sphinx stuff in this deck.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll probably get rid of Skyfolk. I do like the Elvish Warriors.
Yeah, I think we're fine with that. Elvish Herder, probably.
It depends, I guess. If we're trying to lean more, maybe Warriors are not as important. I don't know.
Interesting. Oh, gotta get Massacre in here too.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's put these under, these are basically rituals, right?
The mana for this deck is going to be a mess.
Yeah, it really is. Vitalize, War Flare.
Yeah.
Call to Glory.
Yeah.
So we probably...
Maybe...
I mean, these are kind of disgusting with the Sphinx too. Like, you could easily one-shot somebody.
That's true. I mean, yeah, the pump spell.
This is kind of hilarious. Like,
maybe we don't need... So we probably don't need, like, Owlbear much. Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, like all those spells are good. They'll have to draw away, leave the TMP.
Yeah, those are still really powerful.
Yeah, those are all very good.
So I'm gonna make a new section here called Protection.
Yep.
And let me gotta work on the music here for a second. We got like spooky Halloween kind of music going right now, and
Master Chef is probably less good here because our commander costs 7.
Master Chef.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Although it does pump it immediately to 6 power.
That's true. Yeah, maybe keep it for now. I do like that.
Yeah, that seems to check out, and it just seems like generically good in the deck.
Yeah, I mean it's a powerful card in its own right. Sure.
Right. So like earliest we could get Sphinx out would be like turn 4. No.
Yeah.
Turn 3 with a Priest of Titania.
Yeah. Yeah, usually I think turn 4 is not out of their own possibility, depending on what you have. If you don't have Priest, obviously.
I think the ones that put a land into play, like a forest in particular, are going to
Oh
be
yeah,
really good.
Wood Elves is a great card. Like 'cause you get it untapped as part if you're just getting a forest. I mean, and you get any. So that's all. I mean, that's the best one by a shot. Ledgewalker we could probably cut, and Glade Cover Scout if you haven't already. Those are just like hexproof beaters.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ranger's better than ever here. Yeah. Branchbender's like, I don't know. It always seems impressive, like elf payoff we have access to.
You're not into it as much?
This card has not really impressed me very much.
Interesting. Seems like it produces a big creature, but I guess is it a worry that it dies and then you lose a land?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a... Yeah, I mean, they can certainly play your creature. It's just like... It just makes a beater. So I think there are better ways that we can make big creatures than just like have this thing tap and make our lands. Because we're going to need our lands more than we would otherwise, just because of colors.
That's a good point. Okay. I'm down to bite on that.
Yeah. Scion of the Wild can probably go, because we're not looking to kill people as fast as possible.
Oh, this is an untapper as well.
Yeah.
The fact that it has flash is also kind of silly. I don't know if that's even useful, but like, I guess it could be.
Yeah, I think it's better than it.
I think the rest of this is pretty... Like, Miri's Outrider seems great.
Yeah, it's just going to deal 5 to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably like 3 to 5, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the forest colors are quite good here. Yeah.
Impact Tremors. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. No, get that in here.
And Witty Roastmaster.
Yep, get that stuff in. Throw it in.
Oh my god.
Throw it in the pot.
Chat, this is kind of fucked up, actually. Like, I love building in 5-color, by the way. If I ever build an EDH deck, it's going to be a 5-color initiative deck with Kenrith.
I just get so overwhelmed by this stuff that I just don't engage with it very much.
Yep.
It hurts my brain, so I just don't go there. But no, this is all very fascinating. We probably don't need Beastmaster or Fincleave either. Those are just like purely aggressive cards.
This is going to be really good.
I would certainly keep Wirewood Guardian, as stupid as it is, just because it cycles.
It's just a big stupid thing, but like I think that where these are going to be helpful is in finding our colors.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this taken care of. Yeah. This is good. Lands, we need to go down. We go down on this. Down.
Yeah, like 28, 29 is probably.
Yeah. Man Tower is going to be great. Path is great. Cabin, probably pretty reliable.
I'm kind of lukewarm on it. If we're... I mean, maybe it might be worth a shot. I guess how relevant is like a food token for like the fact that
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Query and Ranger.
Oh, sure. There you go. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's a really nasty thing you can do.
Yeah. Nope, that makes more sense. I didn't even think of that.
We could have crop rotation in the deck too.
Yeah, crop rotation's good. Yeah, I mean, if we can find room for it, it's not like...
It's not high priority to me.
Yeah, neither for me.
But the reason I would include it is if we were gonna
we can have Bajuka Bog too.
Yeah, exactly. Then you have Bajuka Bog. You have like Mortuary Mire. You can have.
Yeah, that was one of the big tricks, like from 5 years ago when I was playing a lot of Jund. Is just like crop rotation for lands. Like.
I was trying to see what our second color was, but we really don't have one.
No, it's kind of like a lot of little things. What other black spells? Like, there's like, I mean,
there's big ones like Siphon Mind.
Yeah, I don't know if we need that though. Like
a big draw 3.
I'm thinking more like creature-related stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think like raise the Draugr, like the spells like raise dead 2 things.
That's a 2 mana get 2 back though.
Yeah, 2 mana get 2. At instant speed, importantly. That's why I like that one. There's
one like return from extinction's the same.
Yeah, except it's a sorcery.
Yeah. I would almost say at that point
Oh,
that, like,
well, if we're playing with this many creatures, what about casualty spells? Our old favorite casualty spells.
oh,
Like dig up the body.
Get 2 back.
Yeah.
You
None of these
know,
are very good.
none of these are. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Dig Up the Body is a good card, but I think Dig Up the Body is at its hottest when the things you're getting back are really
Yeah, I don't
high
think
impact.
I don't think it excels here.
I think like we're looking at Reaping the Graves.
Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah, I think that's good.
I think Reaping the Graves is going to regularly return like 3 or 4 creatures back to our hand.
Yeah, it's easy to engineer it. It's easy to kind of like.
And there's Death Denied. This is also like double
Yeah,
black.
what X spells do you have access to? I mean, a lot, right? Like fireballs and things, but what
was the? How do you search for that again? It was somebody just said earlier. It was mana is less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to X. Okay. So it's. Okay, now we're going down the rabbit hole.
What are some cool things we can do here? I mean, there's obviously like fireballs, but Drain Life's not that great because you need black mana. Same thing with that.
Whoa, that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's target attacking. So I thought it was X attacking, and I was like, Jesus, that's so brutal.
If only.
Yep.
What is Malicious Advice? That's a weird card. I never remember what it does.
Where's Malicious Advice?
It's on the left if you go down a row.
Tap, and then you
lose
life.
Things. Okay, never mind. That card's bad.
Uh-huh.
Shattered Crypt. What is that? Exile things to deal damage? Oh, no, you return. Oh, then you lose life. Okay, so it's like Death Denied, but not as...
It's like Sorcery Speed and bad.
Yeah, but Rolling Thunder is not bad.
Rolling Thunder seems...
Because you can split it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of having that in there.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of them. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, nothing great. It might be worth it. Might be worth it for like one kind of fireball-y kind of.
Uh-huh. That's all I was thinking is just like either Rolling Thunder or Fireball. Fireball is nice because... Yeah, or Karavic's Torch.
Yeah, just because it's harder to interact with.
That's actually a good point. It does everything the Fireball does, except that it can't be split.
Yeah, I mean, Fireball, obviously, you can, like, split with your mana, but...
I kind of prefer that... Like,
Rolling Thunder is better than Fireball, 100%.
You think Rolling Thunder is better than Fireball?
Yeah, because Fireball, you have to divide evenly, right, amongst the targets that you choose. Whereas Rolling Thunder, you just divide however you want.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, so it's
interesting.
It's significantly worse. Unless you're trying to hit, like, one target.
I guess I was just thinking about the double red, but that's fine. By the time we're trying to cast this, it's not going to be a problem.
Exactly.
Right, like this is not an early game spell. We don't want to see this in our opening hand.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, I think that's okay. What else do we have here? I think that's about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything here that's really I don't find really compelling.
Endless Scream is kind of funny.
Yeah, as an aura. Death Denied obviously is quite good, but I think Reaping the Graves might be. I mean, we should play one or the other, I think. Maybe Death Denied is better, I don't know.
Yeah. Chris Jackson asks, is the goal to have a lot of creatures in play? Yeah, it is.
That's exactly right.
Yep, that is it. We're going to have a ton of creatures in play. They're all going to make mana. There will be an Elfball plan, and then there will be Sphinx of the Guild Pact. And we're not really going to put a whole lot of stuff in there that is meant for Sphinx only. But Sphinx will be this amazing backup plan. Although it's kind of weird because it's not a backup for a sweeper. If we get swept, then we can't cast it. So maybe what we do is we do try to cast it early, and then once it's out, then we get swept. It doesn't matter, right?
Sure. Yeah. And there's always also ways like we could explore, like boosting toughness and things like that. A lot of the protection spells, like Volatile Claws or Shields of Elfspell, those sorts of go a long way to insulate you. Just because a lot of the doors that we have, a lot of them are 1/1s. Some of them get out of range. Plus, this gives everything creature types as well, so it gives you toughness and creature types.
That's interesting. It's only one toughness, though.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes that's enough. Most of the time when people go into combat, and you can just blow people out in combat with it too. Like situation would otherwise trade, you can toughness.
Yeah, that's a good
Regardless,
point.
though, like the changeling stuff is quite good because then all of our other non-elf things also elves fuel what we're trying to. You can get some points there. There's some good changelings. Guardian Gladewalker is my favorite just because it gives a counter as well.
Yeah. This puts two elves into play.
Yeah, that's something actually that is interesting with elves at common is that there's not a lot of ways to make. There's only like one card I think that generates tokens, and it's a 4-mana.
Yeah. Okay. None of these are like hyper compelling to me. Nameless Inversion is nice as a removal spell, but we already have Eyeblight Sending.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the usefulness cards, in my opinion, is mostly in like with Heritage, where you just need like them to be elves. Rather, like in this deck, we want them to generate mana on their own, like be able to tap 2 mana.
Yeah. Chris is asking about Vivian's Grizzly and Mob Justice. I think Mob Justice is interesting.
Mob Justice is interesting, yeah. Or Massive Raid. That was a double red, but
yeah. And Massive Raid can hit creatures too, I believe, right?
It can. Execution of players.
Double red's a little hard, but
yeah, I know.
And we're not playing Vivian's Grizzly. No, we just have better draw spells. Vivian's Grizzly is kind of like a poor man's like mono green draw spell.
Yeah, Vivian's Grizzly is good if like in the Heritage deck where like I've got creature and I don't have very many other creature off of. But in something like this where I have access to better things, it's not really as.
Yeah. It sounds like there might be an issue with the microphone where maybe the plug is coming undone. It kind of goes in and out a bit. I think most people can hear what you're saying, but
okay.
It seems like it drops out like every. Yeah, talk like that.
All right, yeah, I'll try and pay attention.
Yeah, that's fine. You're good. Okay. Mob Justice is interesting. I don't know that I like value this super highly.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to do anything with that kind of effect, I think there's a black spell that costs 3 that does it to each opponent. It takes damage equal to creatures you have, or loses life.
Yeah, it's
from Ixalan or something like that. I don't remember.
Shriek. It's called Foul Tongue Shriek.
Oh, no,
it's attacking creatures.
That's attacking creatures. No, I'm talking about it's a 3-mana sorcery. It's a black 2/2 generic, and each opponent loses a life for each creature you have on the battlefield.
Okay.
It's from I think it's from Rivals of Ixalan. I don't remember. I don't remember it. Gruesome something or.
Oh, Gruesome Discovery.
No, not Gruesome Discovery.
I know which one you're.
I'll find it.
Yeah, let me see here. Gruesome Fate.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and that's each opponent. That's kind of nice.
Yep, exactly.
But I mean, that could be pretty big if you had like 10 elves out. That's 30.
Yeah, I mean, it has a very, very high. That's for sure.
I'll throw that in considering. It's only 3 mana. Okay, but let's look at the fundamentals of the deck here too.
Yeah.
How many mana dorks do we have is the question. So, mana dorks. So let's do.
A lot, goodness me.
Oh yeah, it's many. the number is many.
Yeah.
I guess Copperhorn Scout. It's just an untapper, actually, is what it is. It's a ritual. Yeah. We probably get 1 use off of it.
Yeah, most likely.
The one-time thing. Okay, Glade Cover. Okay, Glade Cover's not. Yeah. Jasper Sentinel. Llanowar Elves.
Probably don't need Nettle Sentinel, actually, if we're not playing Heritage Druid.
Yeah. That's a good point. It does work nicely with.
I mean,
like its specific interaction is Birchlore Rangers, and that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we need to make room, so I think it's a fine cut.
Manadorks, Druid of the Anima, Druid of the Cowl, Heartwarden.
Yeah. Yeah, priest, queer, and elves, an explorer. Sculptor of Winter becomes pretty good here.
Yep, it does.
Seeker Skybreak's a kind of like a pseudo mana dork.
Yeah, it is, because it's going to be untapping something that makes mana.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a lot.
Yeah.
And technically, Sylvan Ranger, Farhaven Elf,
They
not
tutor
really.
lands.
Yeah, they're just like land tutors.
Mm-hmm. Harper can go into the draw section.
That's right, draw for Harper.
Rift Sower is a mana dork.
These are going to go into pingers.
Yeah.
Are there any other backgrounds we would want? Not that I can think of.
No, not that I can think of either. Yeah, I don't think so.
Betrothed of Fire is so telegraphed.
Yeah. Yeah, I maybe. Yeah, I get that.
We'll throw that into considering for the time being. Spider Silk Armor.
Um,
I'm not high on this.
maybe not in this. Maybe not in this list. Yeah. I think it's fine to move for now. I do think the Presence of Gone stuff with Druid is, again, like a good backdoor. Pretty free.
Yep. Oh, Gatorbait's saying battle him into Fireball. Battle him is actually...
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That's
Battle
a
Him's
really...
quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Battle him in this.
Yeah, I do too. That's a good catch.
That's an actual ritual.
Yes, a very big one.
That's a big ritual. We've got some nice stuff there.
Yeah, I actually really like Warflare too. It's like a
Warflare is a house.
Yeah.
There's a chance we won't be able to cast it, but you know.
Yeah, well, anything non-green, you know, runner or whatever.
And Colossus goes, right?
Yeah, these cards are less important, I think, now.
And actually, we're going to throw these under tutors because that's really what they're there for.
Yeah, if we're getting rid of Colossus, we could probably drop Altasaur as well.
Yeah,
Altasaur. Hunt Caller, I think, stays. Hunt Caller is insane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Altasaur, yeah. Because the thing about Altasaur is, like, if we're going to cast something for 7, it's probably our Sphinx.
Yeah, I think we're a lot less reliant on effects, or on these types of cards. And
what is it cascading into? Like a 2-mana mana?
Yeah, there's a lot more things that we don't want to cascade in this deck.
Yeah.
Wildheart Invoker is great.
Yeah, all this stuff seems just gas.
Yeah. It might be worth easing up on the initiative stuff, to be honest.
It is finding our colors, though, right? Well,
That's
not
true.
Necessarily. We'd have to run a basic of every color.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we're not, like, going to do that. Like, this list has too few lands to have, like, the... Like,
Again,
the
like
5-color initiative stuff is where you have, like, one of each land.
Yeah.
And you can tutor up whatever you want.
Yeah, again, like, I don't think we need to be... I don't think we should be devoting, like, our mental trying to play, like, the initiative sub game. Like, we should let other people do that for us.
Yeah,
and then we can, like, and we can take it if we need.
Yeah, we can always get it back. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, like this deck I think is good at.
Now,
and any deck with this many creatures will be.
If we did land on like a main sub-color, then it could be useful to have the ability to tutor that up, but I don't think we're even don't think that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think we're there.
Rolling Thunder is removal. For the simplicity's sake, we're going to put Eyeblight's Massacre under removal too, as well as Eyeblight's Ending. And Eyeblight's Ending isn't because we want removal, it's because it's a tutorable removal piece.
Yeah, I think in a deck like in these sorts of decks, like where you're asking the questions, like it's much more to your benefit. And if you can trim slots, to like trim down your reactive cards in order to streamline things a little bit better, I think that's worth it.
Yeah. Now, there's a question here for me, which is with like Death Denied, would that be better as just Siphon Mind? Because this is a double black spell. We're going to have to pay 5 mana into it to get 3 creatures back, which is basically...
This card's pretty much dead in your hand unless, like... Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes me wonder even about, like, Reaping the Graves is good too, but would it be better to just, like, draw a bunch? Like, to, like... and, like, how many draw spells do we need? That's the other thing. Like, some of these are really big, and they're, once we hit them, it's going to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
We're still.
I think like kind of fill in the gaps with the like the roving push mystic, just to kind of like keep rolling, and then when.
I think Death Denied can come out.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that one
I think
feels.
I think it's like an interesting effect. Again, like if we have it in our hand, it's just gonna rot a long time.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got protection now. So let's go Gaia's Gift, Vines of Vastwood, Tamiyo's Safekeeping, Snakeskin Veil, and then we've got these pump effects here, which are interesting because before, like they were good before, and actually in this deck they become even better because if we give it to Sphinx, we're gonna like one-shot somebody.
Yeah, I think if you can, I mean they get way better if your commander's a threat, obviously.
Yeah. Let's see. But we have 13 cards to cut, so it might not be possible. Sword Coast Serpent could probably go.
Yeah, what are our, like, besides Sphinx, obviously, like what other top end kind of stuff are we shooting?
Top end stuff.
We've got like Arcane Investigator. Like we have our mana sinks, obviously.
Yeah,
like, are we ramping into any other permanent?
Well, either of these can both be cast.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily payoff. But
well, I guess let me put it this way: like, what does Fierce Empath tutor up? It gets our 4 cyclers.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Not much. Just those.
Because Empath could probably go if we're cutting it down to just as far as like CMC 6 and plus.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot.
Yeah. And like spending 2 cards to cycle for a land, I don't think is ever gonna something that we're gonna want to do.
Yeah, it's not all that hot.
No.
Elvish Guidance is, what does this go under? Just like rituals, I guess.
Yeah,
it's basically right. Like it's gonna make a dumb amount of mana, and
yeah. And the great thing is that we don't even need to like run like it's like there's so much mana production here that we don't need to lean into heavily.
So then we're still at 56 creatures.
So the next things I'd probably cut are the warriors.
Which one?
The Elvish warriors. They're like probably the next things that I seriously consider removing, just because the function that I use them for is not something.
Pollen Bright Druid's like not that good.
Yeah, same thing with Kujar Seed Sculptor. Like that whole like that effect, I don't think is much less important here than it is.
Yeah, and so the number we're not going to go below in terms of creatures is 50, because that's the same number for slivers, right? 30 in 60 card, and that's where it's like consistent. So we can cut up to 2 more creatures, but we're not going to, want to be careful around that.
I'm pretty happy with the creatures that we have.
Yeah, they're higher quality. Yeah. Okay, so Presence of Gond, this is kind of a creature, basically. Is Presence of Gond, so what are we doing with this right now? We don't have Nettle Sentinel anymore.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that lets you use it more reliably for value is gone. It is just like another way that you, or not win on node, but generate a bunch of tokens, right? Like an infinite amount of tokens. But it's less appealing, certainly, without Nettle Sentinel.
So with Devoted Druid, we would need Devoted Druid,
Ivy
Master Chef, or Ivy Lane Denizen, and then Presence. I'm not super hot on that because it's just like we don't.
Yeah, it may not be
a
necessary
distraction,
here,
right?
Yeah.
Like Presence of Gond is good, but I think we can get rid of that. We keep the rest of it, but like we're gonna be tight on slots. Otherwise, I would say just throw it in, and you can like stumble into a backdoor win. Because we could actually, now that we're in 5 color, we could be playing Heliod's Pilgrim, which would actually find it. So we could choose to go out of it completely or deeper into it.
I think it might be worth it to go out of it, based on where we are now.
I think so too. I think that's the way. Okay, so Master Chef still in, Rolling Thunder. Yeah. So we actually have 2 sweepers, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so then what about Arcane Investigator?
So 6 mana is a high mark.
It's a lot.
It depends on how reliably we're able to generate that much mana. Like, I'm not just looking at what we have here. I'd need. But as far as like mana sinks go, it's certainly good. Just like if you roll above a 10, then just impulse or anticipate, basically.
I think that's quite good. I like having a certain number of mana sinks in the deck that we can just like throw our mana into when we aren't, like, say we have Sphinx in play but we don't have any other action, then we like draw one of these things and we can start sinking mana into it. I quite like that.
Yeah, me too.
Siege Zombie. This feels like it could be superfluous, but it
could be too cute. I mean, it is a very cute card.
Yeah, it is like a powerful.
I guess with this card, what I want to know is kind of getting what we have throughout, like as the game goes on, like how much mana we can produce, how many creatures we have, what reason creatures for, because this would kind of presuppose that we're not using our creatures to tap for mana. We're just pumping thing.
Yeah, the Siege Zombie strikes me as a card of like when we're empty-handed. Like this is like a way that we can like force damage while not attacking. So we don't have to risk our board. We can just kind of like sit back and nug the table for 4 every turn or something. Which like if you're talking about like like a Thermo Alchemist or a Firebrand Archer, that kills people very, very quickly.
Right, but I mean, like for example, like if we're activating theoretically Siege Zombie like 4 times at the end of somebody's turn, that means we're tapping 12 creatures. How much mana could we put into something like Spectral Hunt Call, or how much damage is that really when we put our mana towards? Or like use those creatures for. That's why I kind of like I feel like cutting Siege Zombie good for now until we kind of
I fully
the tension
agree.
that we use, or like the tension that arises from our creatures as we right, like what we're using for.
What about Myriad's Outrider?
Again, like this is another card that I think might be too cute.
I think it is. Yeah,
I love the idea of casting it and dealing 5 to everybody, but
Yeah, this is one of those hard cuts where you're like, oh, it's so good here. We get to play all the lands and it does the thing. And yet I think it's okay that it goes. Now we're at 50. Anything we cut from here on out cannot be a creature. I think
I think our creatures are good. I don't need to change our creatures up at all.
So, and I don't want to cut from Mana Dorks.
Yeah.
So then my eyes kind of go to the draw spells, to be honest.
There wasn't, was there a 2 mana? Well, never mind, I'll look into it. You said you're looking at card draw spells right now?
Well, and the other thing we could look at is something like, I mean, like how important are the individual hexproof spells?
Probably not as important in this kind of a build. Right?
Like it's probably more about like...
Yeah, I mean, like this suite of creatures is much more like interchangeable. Like there's no, I don't know, like there's the same usual suspects, but like they're all very interchangeable. We're not relying on two. I think maybe
like maybe Gaia's Gift, Tamio's Safekeeping, Snakeskin Veil, leave Vines of Astwood because it can interact with your opponents.
I like Vines of Astwood for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 others, I like Gaia's Gift a lot. Like I said, it often. Snakeskin Veil is probably my least favorite. I like the fact that they can give in industry.
Yeah.
Too.
I think Tamio's Safekeeping is like the finest of all of them because it's a permanent.
Yeah.
It can grant a permanent that, and it also gains a little bit of life, which is nice. So I think cutting those 2 is fine. We probably could cut these 2 as well. I hate it because it just like does this thing so good, but like...
no, you're probably right.
It hurts. It hurts though.
I know.
Like the Winter Eladrin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if we're not leaning very hard into interaction, I don't think cards like to me.
I don't think that's super important to me.
Yeah, I think, swapping out this thing for a pump spell, I think is good. Granted, now we're at like, 49 creatures, but that should still...
Oh, 49. Fuck. We did it.
I think we'll still be fine. I mean, unless we can find that kind of... I'm sure there's another spell.
I mean, like, we could...
Maybe just cut Aspect of Hydra, like, have Might of the Master. just something that we can just like kill.
Just have one of them.
Yeah, and Might of Mass is the best of them by far.
Yeah. Okay, cut Aspect of the Hydra. We've got a one shot kill kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to have those things.
And this is 100 cards.
Do you want to make them for another creature?
I would like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe like Tamia. Well,
probably Reapinker is my first pick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
So let's look at the creatures we cut here. What do we bring back in? And of course, which one?
Elvish Herder might be good. I don't know. I like the giving trample. I can't kind of overstate how good that is. It's the top one.
Yeah.
Like even like if we don't augment our commander at all, it 5/5. Like being able to give it trample, people can't block it with stupid little bird tokens or like have. It just pushes damage a little bit better. Especially if we cut like Gaia Blessing or whatever that card is. Like that was one of the big draws of that card is the fact that it can give trample. So it has like that modality. I think Herder is a good substitute.
Entourage as well.
Yeah, or Entourage. That's a good one.
Because Entourage, I mean, can you imagine if we've got Sphinx in play? It's really hard.
Yeah. Granted,
really
like I'm looking at this for much more like aggressive standpoint because how I view cards, but I think Entourage is.
Well, if that's the case, is there an argument for? Do we want more cards or do we want the effects of the initiative then? Because then we could instead just do like Avenging Hunter. I'm not sure which one.
Initiative is better than Monarch for this.
It is. The only thing is that the Entourage is like likely going to draw us a lot of cards.
Oh, it should. I mean, it blocks better.
Yeah.
I think Entourage would be better. I think Entourage is a better.
Yeah. And I'm not dogmatic about slotting like initiative and monarch stuff into the decks. I just think that sometimes, like in this particular case, like right. Well, what's the next thing that we would put in to get it up to 50 when we've cut like most of the bad ones? Is kind of the question. So this is a deck.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah. So let's take a look here. So Gingerbread already coming back to bite us here.
There it is. Yeah.
And these tap lands. That being said, well, okay. I mean, we could look at the tap lands and decide which ones are like really crucial.
Well, like I said, also I don't know if you like the two lands that tap creatures to generate mana of any color. Obviously, those would not be as good. They come in untapped, and you can.
So
here you can tap that and make two.
That's still like a pretty fast ramp, even though they were coming into play tapped.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's.
That's actually just plus. It's a 2 mana. Or wait. Oh wait, so we can go.
So
1,
you can cast
2, 3, 4 for Ivy Lane, right? Because we want to get that going.
Oh yeah, and then you can tap Ivy Lane with Stalwart to Vitalize. And
then Vitalize. That's pretty gross.
It's not bad, yeah.
And then we go, so we have 4 mana or 3 mana available here.
Yep, so you can at least deploy like that other mana.
Actually, you know what? This is kind of wild.
Oh, we can Bellringer, right?
Yeah, we could go Bellringer, although that's actually mana neutral.
That takes all your mana though, right?
So I think we just go Heartwarden.
Yeah.
1, 2, Heartwarden comes in as a 2/2. And then we just pass, and the next turn we're Distant Melody.
Honestly, what I might even do is put a counter on Ivy Lane Denizen so that it gets out of bowl range.
Oh no, you're totally right. I forgot that it can go to anything.
Yeah, that's a big part of like playing Heritage Shield is putting counters on soft target.
Yeah, totally. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, we got 4. So we go 1, 2, Coiling Oracle. Look at the top. It's a winding.
Well, you have to do it otherwise, right? Because
reveal if it's a land card, put it in the battlefield. Otherwise, put it in your hand. Okay, that's insane. Just like draw Winding Way, and then we go 1, 2. So 1, 2.
Well,
3,
I mean, you have to do it
4.
differently, right? Because you cast Coil to begin with.
Oh, so actually, to cast Coiling Oracle to begin with, it wasn't with these lands.
Well, it wouldn't be that much different. Like you just use Stalwart to tap down the Ivy Lane, and you're not like, losing a map.
Yep. So we're tapping it like that, and then gingerbread, cast that,
Yeah,
and
and
we
then
go
you're right
1,
back where you
2,
started.
3, blue, distant melody for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, you don't have a blue here either.
I do.
It generates green.
Oh, that's green.
Yeah.
Oh. So I would have to
So
choose between.
you just pinched on blue. I mean, you could like not play coil, just like draw 5 cards.
So let's just say, yeah. So we'll do this. This would go back on top.
Yeah.
And we would just go tap, 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 tap,
Yep.
tap. We probably
Yeah.
want to leave our most flexible one open.
Mhm.
These two are most
Sure.
flexible. And so we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that's
Let's
still
go to 5.
very good. So I think we go. So we have 1, 2 open here, and we have a third if we want it.
Mhm. Give
So
Bellringer.
we probably just go. Oh,
Well, I
we
mean,
could we could
Yeah,
Bellringer.
you can play a forest and Bellringer, right?
Oh yeah, no, that's really
Oh no,
good.
you can't because you don't have a white.
No,
you
we
have
do.
to
We have
filter.
white here.
Oh,
we have
it
to
costs
filter.
3. You'd have to filter.
Oh god. Okay, so I think what we
Yeah.
do instead is we just play Arctic Tree Line.
Yeah. So
Although
I think
we don't
something
have.
worth noting
Yeah.
here is that as awkward as the lands and mana, we're still able to do a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing is like is the same thing. Is like I don't feel too choked on mana. It's like because the funny thing is like we've emptied our hand on turn 3 mostly, and
Mhm.
now we're like back to full, and we've got like this is a particularly
More.
disgusting
Oh, yeah.
hand. Actually,
Yep.
like
No, it's a lot of gas.
yeah. Okay, cool. So this is a good start to a game. That's usually what I look for is just like a good start.
Yeah.
This is not playable.
Yeah, this is not compelling at all.
This see this gingerbread cabin again. Cabin might not make it. It's
Yeah,
bitten
I
me
mean,
twice
that's
now.
the thing is the games where like you just have it in your opening hand and you have to play entering tap. Just like it sucks so bad.
I think it's gonna go. We've got good enough life gain to like ditch this.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it's a really cool synergy with right, but like or Korean Ranger rather, but Ranger like way in other ways that it's not necessary to have.
Yeah. Now, are there colors here that we really don't need, like black?
Black we have. What black cards do we have?
So we could drop the chasm potentially. Like we actually produce a lot more.
Because we have elves that make black mana too.
Right. Exactly.
We probably don't even need a black land.
So we cut the haunted mire,
Yeah, possibly. I think that's
and
good.
then up on this, just to
Yeah.
reduce the number of tap lands. Because now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Or
7,
I might
8.
play just maybe like one holdout set. Not
holdout
both
settlement?
of them. Holdout settlement.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Maybe like there's 2 cards that you know,
Survivor's
do this
Encampment.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that card. I think one of those effects is good with our density of creatures. Obviously,
Maybe that's
like,
better than Woodland Chasm actually.
it's awkward if we can't it's awkward if we can't play out our creatures into it. But it has a really like being able to tap for any color is like really valuable.
If it's our only land in hand, it'll really suck.
That's right. But at least it enters untapped.
So I think we only play one of those.
Yeah,
I think that's
fine.
the right idea. Okay, so let's play test this here. So Gatorbait asking, is Rush of Knowledge in the deck? Oh, because the Sphinx of the Guild Pact.
I guess we have if our commander
Holy
costs 7, that card's
shit.
much better. Yeah. We toss that card around in a different. So you're right. It's much better here.
That's actually pretty sweet. This is a disgusting hand.
This hand is very good.
Okay, so draw.
Yeah, this hand is great.
Okay, so we go this one into Arbor Elf, and then
Yeah.
we go turn 2. We play this. We have 3 mana, so we probably want
Sentinel
to.
and Korean Dragon or Korean.
Yeah,
Elves.
right. Yep. So
Yeah.
this one and this one,
Or if you want to take or if you want to take a turn off this, and just get like a dual land.
and get a duel.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, I think it might be better to get the duel because then you have these 2 elves for after you cast Huntmaster.
But look at this. Why do we need the duel right now? We can make mana of any color.
Oh no, I mean like you can use what else to while still retaining those cards to play into Huntmaster.
So how did you do that? So if you've got this right here,
Yeah,
so you go 1, 2, 3 Wood Elves.
Just what else? Yep, get a duel. And then the
Okay.
following turn you can play Huntmaster, and then you've got 2 elves in hand to generate tokens.
And what do we want? We've got blue and
Probably the blue one is the most
Yeah.
important because that's where.
so we normally get the snow one. So we'll just pretend this is the
Yeah.
snow one, but I can't remember the
Fine.
name. And this actually isn't in play. That goes into our hand. Draw.
Oh no, it goes into play. What else puts it onto the back?
Oh, it does. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the better play for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
now we can play Huntmaster, and then we've got like a bunch of elves to play into the Huntmaster, which sets us up for a better distant mill. I mean, it's a slower plan, but I think
Huntmaster
it pays off
early.
better.
Yeah, Huntmaster early is a very intense payoff.
Yes.
So I think we definitely want to prioritize that.
Yeah, this is only turn 3. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. So start a turn 4.
This is a great turn 4.
This is very powerful.
Now we just make a bunch of tokens.
So there's our first elf warrior. We're gonna put these.
This
here, I
turn
guess.
you just play out your dorks, make a couple tokens, and then you Melody Knight.
And then do we have? See, we have 1, 2.
Oh, you can play the Arctic Tree line. You have a land.
Yeah, we can play the land.
Yeah.
And then just like we can't do anything
There's a
else,
lot
but
of
that's
mana.
okay.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
oof,
good too. That's good.
man, what a draw. So now we go Elvish Visionary.
And then we make another token.
This is kind of nauseating, actually. Like,
Yeah, I mean, this is what these cards do. People, yeah, I mean, it's easy to disregard these sorts of things because it dies to breath weapon or whatever. But like, if they don't have a breath weapon, you just take.
yeah, like right here we go 1, 2, 3,
Tap a token. Yeah.
4.
Draw
this-
100 cards.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, draw 9 cards. Go like.
Fuck.
You can even play a Finthorn Elves. Yeah, and then.
Chat, I'm upset. This is quite good. Yeah, and then we like discard lands, I presume.
Pretty much, yeah. They're not the lands are the least important cards you have, obviously. How many dwarfs you got? You got Arbor Elf, Jasper Sentinel. So you got those 3, and then 4 lands. You got 7 mana. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Is it Mole Drifter?
Yeah, I don't think you need Mole Drifter.
Because like Winding Way and that's so wild to consider that, but like
Yeah,
here we are. I think it's that, right?
with 50 creatures, I mean, it's not outside realm. 2 or
Okay.
you had at least 2, but maybe off Winding.
Okay, so we'll do that. Ugh.
Oof, that's rough. You just win, right?
I think
You just attack.
do.
You just Alpha Strike. And you
Alpha
like it's easy. This is easy. Easy game.
You know what's funny is like I think in this case I would probably wind. No, because if we had the opportunity here and people are like tapped down sufficiently, I would go Warflare. But if people were presenting interaction, like a sweeper of some sort, I would.
I would play Priest Titania to
Yeah,
bait out
exactly.
removal. Yeah.
So play out Priest.
We do not need Priest right now.
No, we don't. Right. So Priest here. We have Thanatos asking, "What's the commander?" We have Sphinx of the Guild Pact. This is
right.
an
elf.
Yes, it is an elf.
It's
Yeah, it's
7 mana, 5/5 flying elf.
Honorary commander of our elf deck. It is a 5-color commander, so we are playing 5-color elves. It's mostly a green deck that happens to have rainbow aspirations, but it just so turns out that sometimes the cards that you play in other colors that aren't green are just like really good. Like Warflare here is creatures you control get +2/+1 and you untap them. So if you imagine this one right here, it would we'd go ballistic.
Yeah. We're presenting like 40 damage on board.
Yeah, like so yeah, I think the thought is you play out we play this because we haven't played a land this turn. And then we play Priest of Titania. We load up on another elf.
Yeah.
We play
and think about this. What if they're hip to your schemes? They let Priest evolve and live, and then you just go Wildheart Invoker. Yeah. And you just own them with that. There's a lot of avenues you can attack with decks.
Like this is 1, 2 for Druid of the Cowl, and then like this is where the next attack is like completely lethal. If they do not kill the Priest of Titania, for one thing, we're gonna end the game like on the spot for everybody.
Yeah.
But like,
oh, that's a good one.
Imagine opponents try to kill our stuff. They're like, "Oh, there's a problem. We better sweep his board." Gatorbait asking, "Why not composite Golem for a ritual in the command zone?"
We don't need it.
Nope, I don't think we need that. We have 20 mana dorks, and we have
the way that we've built it is much more conducive to having like a threat in the like a mini generator. This deck really functions really well. Like as like a plan B, you have a 5/5 flyer.
This is why right here too. Like we barely can use those colors, right? Yeah, that's another thing. True. I think that the just like having this big beater in the air is way more important.
Yeah, it's a great plan B.
This seems great actually.
Yeah, it's not a land. How many
Stalwart and just one, and it's tapped.
Yeah, I don't think you need more than one right here.
No, so we play this. It's kind of sad because like, you know, if we don't get a land soon, it's. I mean, this is actually a pretty sad hand.
It could be worse.
We
this isn't that bad.
That and then.
Well, this is awkward though.
Yeah, this is awkward. So
yeah, this hand didn't work out so well. This is a pretty slow hand. It gets to where you want to go.
Yeah, like we can go.
Doesn't line up particularly well.
1, 2, draw, and then, or actually, I guess we would. Well, we can cast another thing for 2 right now, because we can pay.
For 1, wait. You just have 1.
Oh yeah, just 1.
Have 2. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was awkward.
Just an awkward hand. Like you keep that one and like pray that it's not an issue. We're getting the tap lands every single time here, which feels like unusual, but
this one's not bad because you have Findhorn and you can go from there.
Yeah, Findhorn into it's not a whole lot else though.
If you get one, if you draw like another mana source, you can Farhaven.
So think about it this way: we have 20 mana dorks. Like we should be mulliganing for.
That's a good point.
Right, like even. This has no dorks, but it has lands, which is kind of weird.
I don't really.
And it has Scry.
That's true, but I mean, yeah, I mean, but
it's a very
really
slow,
though, right? Because
this is not the high roll.
Because none of our creatures are Sphinxes, so Path of Man. What?
Well, Priest is here. Actually, that's gross.
Yeah.
So we have to put 1 back.
I think we should replace Path of Ancestry with like just a basic land or something.
A basic land.
We have no Sphinxes.
Oh, this sucks.
Our commander's not an elf. Overlook that one.
Whoopsies. Okay, so we're gonna draw. Okay, that's a good draw. And then we go into Priest, and then we go.
What else is great here?
Yeah, we go Wood Elves. Is it tapped? No.
Untapped
so we could cast our Wirewood Herald too.
Yeah.
So we cast this, tap. Oh, we actually get to cast Coiling. Well, we should probably try and get green here, right? Or blue. So actually, I think we go get Islet.
Oh yeah, because you don't need the mana from the land. Cast Herald with just the.
And then we go 1, 2 for Herald. And then we go untap. Oh, that was good. Okay, so
it's not bad at all.
1, 2, Coiling Oracle, land. Is it tapped when it comes in?
I don't think so.
It isn't. That's really good. And then we are out of gas now.
Yeah, it can happen. Oh, we're drawing a lot of lands. This is not.
This is abnormal, chat.
This is abnormal. What do we have? 8 lands.
Yeah.
I mean, we tutored one of them, so 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's statistically improbable. Oh, there we go.
Well, I presume we played out the Woodland Chasm.
As if nothing happened. Yeah, draw. Watch us get like 0 cards off this. 5 lands. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was actually pretty fine.
3 creatures, not bad.
Yeah, and we're gonna play all of them. Sending the Keep Watch to the bottom eats, but it's okay. So we play a land, and then we play Essence Warden. We play Boreal Druid.
And then Conclave.
Yeah, we don't know that.
Priest for it.
Oh yeah, Priest. Yep. I don't know if there's necessarily something we want to kill, but it is a 4/4 right now.
Yeah, that's
and then we're attacking with the Wirewood Herald probably.
Oh yeah, every turn.
Oh, that though.
Okay, that paid off a little bit.
Yeah, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well,
slam this.
That's great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So twice. It's 6.
Oh wait, no. 11, 12.
Okay, yeah, perfect. And then that's +2/+2 trample. Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
So 1. So this is
7.
so
7, 4. It's 11.
wait, 7?
6.
No, this would be 6.
7. Oh, 6. Sorry.
6.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of I don't
9.
know what I'm doing.
12, 15,
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, trample damage. Turn 7. I mean, that's not the worst.
Oh, and actually, you know what? We didn't have to tap this. We tapped this.
Oh, sure, we have a land.
So
Okay,
that's 21. A little late. A little late to the party. Yeah,
I mean,
Thanatos saying the priest would never get to this turn. I think that you're probably right. Priest is a kill on sight card, and I think you're definitely right to kill it.
you have to
but
believe.
you know, you have to believe. Yeah, no, I think that there's an element of like this particular draw was pretty awkward. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of lanes.
I will say that game where we had all the draw spells felt really fucking good. There's a part of me that just like
this is the perfect hand for holdout stuff away. Like this hand is really
really
good.
is. Okay, so we go turn 1, Llanowar Druids.
Yeah.
Oof, that was a
Oh,
really
better.
good hit. I think we actually play that.
Yeah, you play the forest here and get the big.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good too. That's good too.
Land into. Well, actually, you know what we could do. Well, let's see. We want to kind of yeet our hand right now, don't we? Like, this is 4 mana. We could have 5 in play if we wanted, which would... 5 doesn't get us anywhere special.
5
It
cast Hunt Caller.
Yeah, I feel like this is like our top end, though, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we go like 1, 2, Sylvan Ranger, go get Islet. Put that into play. Tap.
Oh, no, you Ranger Tutors are basic.
Oh, it's a basic.
Basic to your hand, yeah. So we get a forest, but that's fine. I mean, Holdout Settlement will give us advantage.
And then, that's right, Holdout Settlement's got us covered. 1, 2...
Cards like Sylvan Ranger and Elvish are like the perfect cards for settlement.
Let's actually not play this, and what we'll do is we'll tap these 2 to cast Emissary to see if we get a tap land off the top. Okay, we don't.
That's a good one, though.
Yep, that's a good one. And then we go here, Holdout Settlement, 1, 2, Elvish Ranger, 1, 2, Quarian Explorer, 1, 2. We don't have anything in the graveyard, but it just is an elf.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a valid play.
Yeah.
Just like another counter on that guy.
Yep. And then next turn, we're going to refill with the Mold Drifter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Mold Drifter, 1, 2. Oh, Mobilize is good here.
Interesting one, yeah.
So tap, that's 2. And then we also have multiple ways to do this, which is kind of wild. So Vitalize is going to be, so we have 2 floating. We pay 1. So we have 1 floating. Untap, 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 untap.
So that gets us 3 more.
3 more. So 4, 5 mana total. So that means this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and now we can activate that thing.
And actually, you know what? I think I would have prioritized this, because then we can play this as well. This is free right now.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right.
And that works nicely with the Hunt Caller, because it's going to give all of our creatures that.
Yeah, it's another creature.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, turn 6 here. Turn 6, we like yeet.
Yeah, turn 6 we just trample. Yeah.
Yeah, we just like smack them.
And the great thing here is that we don't need to tap any of our creatures to do it.
So Thanatos is saying it's dying the turn it hits the table. That's possible. It really depends on the pod, though. I don't know that always is true. There's a lot of decks out there that simply don't play interaction, and or don't play very much of it, or they just don't have it in hand. And I've seen priests survive because there's other things happening that are scarier, or because the priest is enabling the elf player to beat down somebody important.
Something else to consider with priests is that like a lot of these elf payoffs are like kind of hallmarks that people recognize as being very threatening, like Timberwatch Elf. And you can use them to bait out. I mean, in a deck like this, you don't need priests to do a lot of broken things. Yeah, but it is a way that you can bait out removal and counter spells. People will be afraid of that stuff regardless.
I just had a realization actually about the turn, the game where we were flooded. You know what we forgot about?
What's that? Oh yeah, we have a commander, don't we? There's just so many cool things that we can do with the card back.
Yeah, it's like right now, like if we flood, we just cast Sphinx. And Sphinx is insane. This card dies to like final payment, like unmake, and like
it's tough to kill.
Precious few things kill this card. Agony Warp doesn't get it. So
but like just to kind of finish my point about Priest and like those payoff kind of cards is a lot of the time you can manipulate your opponent's perception of the board and what's powerful. You don't have to like present them. Priest will not be the most powerful because you have so many other things that you can do, but your opponents will perceive it that way, and you can take advantage of that. There's a lot of like qualitative aspects to play that are tough to kind of wrap your head around like that. Obviously, but like it's something. It's never about what the most powerful thing on the board is, just what. So
you cut out for a little bit of that there.
Oh,
what
sure.
Was
the long and the short of it is that like rarely matters like what the most powerful thing on the board is, but more what is perceived to be the most powerful thing. And you can pick up a lot of points there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like there are must kill threats, but we don't want to apply the blanket statement to that because it simply doesn't work in context. Like sometimes there's something very scary on the board that is simply scarier than your Priest of Titania or your Timberwatch Elf. And a lot of times, if I'm the one with the removal and the person is, plays out this thing like, and they're not coming at me, I'm perfectly happy for them to like shank somebody else with this really powerful card until it's no longer profitable.
Pinching people resources like that is really good. Like the great thing about ramping is that a lot of things ahead of curve. Right? So are people going to destroy your, I don't know, like Priest of Titania, or are they going to try and like stop a combo player from off? Whatever,
absolutely.
Like, making people putting people in these situations. Again, like, and this applies to Magic no matter what form you play, but like making your opponent make decisions is the best way to get them to. Like it's a numbers game, right? The more decisions they have to make, the more mistakes. So putting them in those situations is a good way to again just get an edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gator also saying cough cough Dargo. Yeah, absolutely. Like Dargo, if it's going at somebody else, usually you're just like, sure, cool, let it go. I mean, it's like I'm not going to kill a Dargo unless it's like coming after me. And generally because the decks I'm playing, it's not. But it really depends. Oh, and it's Praxia. That's awesome, dude. Good to see you. Glad to have you on the stream. I don't think I've seen you on the stream before, so it's good to have you here. Praxia and I think I'm saying your name wrong, probably. Praxia. I think that's how it is. He and I talk pretty often about Passageway Seer. And recently, actually, Praxia, we had discussed long and hard about how we felt that Passageway Seer was a really, really good deck for like a competitive league or something like that. And so he was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I just want to take this and like spike a league soon in my local meta. And he did exactly that. He went and I think he won all of his games. Maybe you can tell us in chat like what your record was, but it was something really stupid and you kind of just ran everybody over.
That's awesome.
Because it turns out like turn 3 initiative is just like a really, it's a very consistent game plan, right? And I think consistency, when you look at stuff like this, like if you take a format where you always draw a card no matter what your order is, you always get a free mulligan, and then you add to the fact that your command zone finds you your basic land, it's just like...
it's exactly the same kind of thing we've been talking about all night, right? Like knowing what you're sitting down to do and then just consistently as you can. Like that's the most important.
Yeah, I'm playing Fractured Power Stone in that deck, if that tells you anything about what my goals are.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, so Praxia says, yep, it's not just the turn 3 initiative, it's all the removal as well. Yeah, because the deck is like 15 removal spells and half of them are like exceptionally inexpensive. Well, this deck is very cool.
There's something here for sure.
I like this a lot. I think the things we would probably end up tuning are like, which of these tap lands do we need for like what colors? I think that there's a possibility that we want more draw spells. because I think the game where we just went crazy on draw spells, it didn't matter what happened on our board. Our board could have gotten fucking wiped, and we would have just rebuilt at the next turn.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by like Rush of Knowledge. I think that's
Rush of Knowledge just should be in the deck, right? Like,
yeah, if we have a 7-mana commander that we can certainly can, then it stands to reason that we'd want that spell.
Thanatos saying, when a lot of decks are playing maybe 5 creatures that matter. Yeah, exactly. Well, that was one of the things that, like, I think early on when I was building mid-range and control decks that I was realizing is, like, if I just put 18 targeted removal spells, I put 4 mass edicts, I put 3 sweepers in my deck, good luck keeping your creature in play. Because I'm not the only one interacting with stuff. And it just be that way. So Rush of Knowledge, definitely insane here. So if we had Rush of Knowledge in our opening hand and we had like a normal kind of draw, then we would probably like rush straight for Sphinx.
We'd push for Sphinx for sure.
Yeah, push for Sphinx. Okay, and then what do we cut for that? Would it be something like Call to Glory is kind of interesting because it only untaps.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is that we did kind of have like a glut of like untapped spells.
Yeah, I was thinking the same too.
One of them could probably Mobilize, simply because it's a sorcery speed spell.
The only thing though is, think about this though. Well, it's a creature.
Yeah, I know.
And it's an elf. Battle Hymn only makes red. Let's keep that in mind. Okay, like this is
sure.
Right. Like Battle Hymn into Rolling Thunder is the nuts, but it's also like it's like 2 cards that are like the only other red things we have are Volatile Claws, which is reactive, and Impact Tremor's Ring.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this goes
like a density smaller spells. So.
Now, I will say Battle Hymn does just cast Sphinx for 2.
That's true.
Actually, true. You know what? Though? That's just that good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna waffle 3 different times here in as many sentences.
I think
Call to Glory, maybe
Call to Glory, or Call to Glory. I think Mobilize is probably better. I think having them lower on the curve is better. So that being said, Call to Glory is probably the one I would cut.
So we have some Anthem.
Because Village Bellringer, like you can get off your meet in a tavern.
I liked Village Bellringer.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's
Call to Glory can go. I think.
Yeah, it's not a creature.
I'd rather have the 2 1-mana spells than a 2.
Okay, so this is like, and the funny thing is about this is that a lot of these draw spells are really heavy hitters, like Shared Discovery, Winding Way, Lead the Stampede. Distant Melody, You Meet in a Tavern, and Rush of Knowledge are just like heavy.
Imagine those games that we were just goldfishing, and instead of like dumping our mana into like the Hunt Caller, we dump it into like we're rolling dice off that, anticipating some number of the time. Like that seems good.
The other thing I realized with Battle Hymn is that we can sync it into our Wildheart Invoker or to Hunt Caller. Or to the Arcane Investigator.
Yeah, or even Hunt Caller. Yeah, I mean all that stuff. Yeah, that's a good point.
There's a lot of good uses for that. Okay, so this Sculptor of Winter here. Is there another? Oh, I guess untapping. So we don't have all snowlands. That's the thing.
We should prioritize the snow ones for sure. Just because, like you said, being able to functionally tap. Quote unquote,
there's no white in the deck except for Bellringer and Roving Harper. Is it possible that it's correct to not? It's an elf though.
Lands that do it well. I think instead of like all these tap lands, maybe like a basic that we can fetch with Sylvan. What's his face? Does that make more sense?
So one thing to think about, Path of Ancestry, thank you. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, but my brain has holes in it. So, okay, so then one thing we could think about is like when we're drawing up hands, you randomly draw up 7, you are not actually likely to hit any one single card in your opening hand, right? Sure. Which means that these like a single land that we can fetch with some of these, abilities, is not likely to be in our opening hand, and that's exactly where we don't want to see it, right? Sure. So maybe it's okay that we have like an island kind of feels like the one that I would want the most. But then again, like Rimewood and Tanglet probably do the trick in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Woodland Chasm we definitely don't need, right?
There's only.
Well, I guess we have a double black spell, don't we? I played double black.
Is this good?
I don't know if we need it. This isn't the kind of deck where we're like trying to.
I mean, we could play.
I mean, this spell is also just kind of cumbersome to cast because.
I mean, it is I feel like having a sweeper is a good idea. Like a single sweeper is not a bad idea, and the fact that it doesn't hit our stuff is pretty sick. But it's hard to cast, undoubtedly. Yeah. I mean, like, what do we need to have in play to make that work? We need Birch Lore. We need maybe Arbor Elf, Woodland Chasm. We need Stalwart. We need
Jasper Sentinel.
Jaspera. It's not that bad. I mean,
some of the 2-mana Druid Elves can do.
Quarian could do it
if we choose. Yeah.
Quarian Explorer is always going to have access to black.
yeah, for sure.
Sculptor
can do it too.
Sculptor could do it on Chasm. And yeah, Urborg. Praxia saying remove path. Okay, yeah, we got the path. It's a one-sided mass removal. Sure. Yep. It's how you get through at a second forest swamp. We cut the last one, but I could see bringing it back in. Radiant Grove seems like the most suspect card here.
I think we can cut that.
So we can cut that one and bring the black one back in, which would be, oh gosh, it's type swamp, type forest. Haunted Mire. Yeah. Okay. And you know, there could be like an argument in this deck to like increase the consistency of it to like completely cut certain colors, but like, because you could cut white. You know, you would lose.
The white cards seem very good though.
They seem very good. Warflare, Village Bellringer, Celebrity Fencer, and then Roving Harper is fine. I think we could lose that one, but the thing is that it's an elf and it draws a card, and I feel like that is like pretty good.
It's smooth. It kind of bridges the gap.
Yeah,
like I like those cards a lot.
We haven't seen these yet, but I think they're going to go a long way. These are almost only lands, right? I think this is looking really good here. I don't know that I would do a whole lot more to it.
Yeah, these kinds of lists tend to be like very, very tight. So it's.
All right, chat. You need to come up with some names now. We need so this is well, Sphinx of the Guild Pact. I always have a naming convention here, and then we have our Mimi name, and then we have. This is aggro deck, I think. Yeah,
it's kind of like an ag. Yeah,
like a bit mid-rangey, I guess. Mid-range elves.
It's more like it's kind of like half combo, half. It's more combo than mid-rangey.
In combo in terms of like you're trying to chain off certain things, but it's not infinite.
Yeah, it's like a proactive like half combo, half aggro deck. I mean, it's in the same way that like a combo deck.
I guess I'm defining combo as being like you've got some sort of infinite thing you're looking to assemble, whereas like
there's nothing like deterministic about what we're trying to do, but
right, we beat down, like that's ultimately like the way that we win.
Sure.
So we'll just do aggro for now, but and then in terms of names, like usually I like to go with Sphinx of the Guild Pact. I like to make conspiracy theory names. So the last Sphinx of the Guild Pact deck that I made was called the History Channel, and then the one before that, I think. I have a Sphinx of the Guild Pact deck that's all the initiative and all the monarch, and it's called Run the Jewels, which is pretty fun for those of you into hip hop. But what would we call it though? It feels like Sphinx is just like this oddball, you know, like wannabe elf or something. Elf wannabe.
I don't know. So I have to think about it.
I know, right? The Praxia says mid-range did originally mean between mid-range did originally mean between 2 of the 3 points of aggro combo control triangle. Yeah, so I could see that. Like this deck does draw a shitload of cards. It doesn't need to like kill right away.
I don't want to get into like a condition or whatever.
You know what?
I just distilling it down, it's just like flipping between proactive, which
Yeah,
decks to operate, and we're not being.
That's a good point. Just because we have card advantage doesn't make us mid-range, so that does make sense.
This deck is 100% proactive. We're not trying to.
Yeah.
And executing that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense. Yeah, the pivoting between reactive and proactive is kind of the definition that I've always gone by. So that generally means that you've got kill spells or counter spells, one of the two, or both. Okay, so then the last ones here, we have a single white land, which is probably fine. The red does seem like it's a color that we have more than a little bit of.
Well, we have we have other like elves. We have more elves that provide red mana.
So maybe we only need one of these, and we just keep the snow one.
I keep the snow one, yeah. Maybe
okay.
That one.
Yep, and then add this one in. Well, I think, are at a point where the deck would just need to be played to like, see what it does.
Yeah.
And to just like play it.
Run into stuff. Let it lose spectacularly and enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah, totally. Fantastic. Are there any other things that we want to look into here while we got you on air, or
maybe not for this list? I think kind of we're able to identify what we were trying.
I think what this shows is that there's a lot of different ways to do elf things, and I think if we go back to Scryfall here real quick as kind of a wrap up. It's funny, Fusion Elemental is a card I saw somebody just play recently, and it is a 2-shot with commander damage.
It's a beefy guy,
yeah. So if we go, ID is greater than or equal to green, I think is what I want. I basically want none of the non.
Oh.
I want all the non-green, or I want nothing that is pure green. So greater than green. So greater than green type elf.
It's above my pay grade. I don't understand how this parsing works.
Yeah.
I just type go to the advanced search and type in future type elf search. Like that's how I do it.
Yeah, you can get really sophisticated with it. There's even stuff where you do like double bracketing, and I kind of like math a little bit, so it's kind of fun to go through. We have Buddha Dragon MTG. By the way, love the name. Welcome to the chat. Cool. Glad to have you here. How about Elf 51 sorts of. Oh, Elf 51, sort of like Area 51 to go with the off-the-wall names you have. That's pretty fucking good. The reason I went with the History Channel is because the History Channel is really fond of convincing its viewers that the pyramids could not have been constructed by anything but aliens. Sure. And Sphinx is part of that as well, so that's kind of where that came from. Elf 51 is pretty good, though. It's like the conspiracy of the non-elf commander in the elf deck. That's pretty funny. I like that. Buddha Dragon, I may have to credit you on that.
Or even another History Channel. Homage to Ancient Elvians.
Oh, okay. Ancient Elvians. I like that. Oh, that's actually even better. I like that even better. Yeah. This is Ancient Elvians. It's like Ancient Aliens. Yeah. Elvians.
Yeah, Elviien. I don't know.
Elvians, right?
It's a made-up word. Yeah.
So it's Elfians.
ELV as in Victor.
Elvians.
Yeah, Elvians.
I think you got to have a really, really wrinkly brain to like pick up on the reference here.
Those are the best jokes. I'm into that.
They are, dude. My brain is sometimes too smooth to pick up on that. Smooth like a Zamboni rolled over it. Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to do here was just peel through these last cards here for Elves, because what I want to do is leave everybody in chat with a sense of like, there's more to do with Elves that has not been explored. And this package is like
Brazen Upstart is really good.
Brazen Upstart, you're gonna
very powerful. It attacks and it dies and it gives you a creature.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Buddha power, it crushes.
Yeah, it's a 3 mana 4/2. Buddha Dragon MTG, thank you. Just seemed a nice fit since it's a Sphinx trying to be an elf. Absolutely. We may come back to the Area 51 thing. I like that.
I've looked at a lot of these cards before. Like Conflict generates token for a lot of mana, but also gives. Yeah, there to explore. Let's see.
So some of the
Trapper.
Abomination of Llanowar too.
Abomination is very powerful.
This is a known entity. The person who took second in my in the cPDH league that I hosted about last year, I want to say, was playing Abomination of Llanowar and Sphinx Summoner. And dude, yeah, Abomination's very scary. It's too bad that it's like only the ones in the graveyard, because graveyard hate's just kind of like really hard on this. But
it's a card in play and.
Right, but if they sweep your
sure. Yeah.
So if they sweep your board, then they have to exile your graveyard. So
yeah, it's just they have to hit you on both ends there. Gnarlroot Trapper is an interesting one. Again, like a mana brook in the route with, like, this is a good card. It gives attacking as well. Glowspore Shaman's a cool one, just a self-mill thing, but it was downshifted. Just played at 99.
Yeah, we could do. This is kind of an interesting one, actually.
Which one?
A General Marholt Elves Dragon.
Yeah.
Because you've got all these like dinky elf shitters, and you just swing in and people can't block, and it's kind of like a Garna a little bit, where you like you can't block these things, and it's for each creature blocking it. That's kind of funny.
Golgari Guildmage is kind of a classic. Yeah, but I think Elves Dragon's good.
I actually kind of like the idea of the Elves Dragon and then running a Trumpet Blast effect, so they don't block, and then you're like Volatile Claws, get fucked.
Like, there's a lot of ways you can like force people to block too, like artificially funk your stuff that way.
And Seb the Grey points out, I'm working on a Poison Tip Archer brew, and I love Poison Tip Archer. I also don't think that this is an elf deck necessarily.
No, it's different. I mean, you can play it as an elf deck, but like a translation, I think.
Yeah, and he says, I've gone away a bit from the elf tribal. I think you absolutely go away from elves. This is like a control deck, probably, or a mid-range deck, one of the two.
Yeah, Let of Champion is an interesting one in Selesnya. If you can give it trample, when it attacks you, you give it power by tapping your creatures. If you actually scroll up a little bit, one I specifically want to bring up, two actually. Herald, King of Skemfar, I actually kind of like. It's an aggressive creature that digs up another one when he enters. To keep the ball rolling that way, and Kaga Shadow, fascinating.
Yeah, so Kaga,
because you don't have to play in the graveyard.
Yeah, Kaga alongside like Tortured Existence is pretty gas.
Yeah. And it attacks well. I mean, it gets Death Touch when it attacks. Has 4 toughness, so like it's pretty safe most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there are people working on Notvine Druid. As well.
I experiment a little with Notvine Mystic. I like it a lot.
Notvine Mystic. That's right. I saw Druid in the text there. The only problem about Notvine is that getting this down in a timely manner just seems really hard, and it's only tapping for 2, so it's not like high on my list at all. But it is Naya, and it's one of the few Naya commanders we have. But again, if you're playing
you saw firsthand like the power of the red and the white card.
Yeah,
right? So like,
for sure.
Naya is a really like attractive color combination of these.
It is. Sometimes though, when I see something like this, where it's like you're playing it like a suboptimal commander for where just for the colors, then I want somebody to just play Sphinx.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Because Sphinx is like the best 5-color commander that isn't doing combo stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even for combo, there could be an argument that you just like have this secondary game plan, but
right.
Rocco, obviously, but this is not really an elf deck. This is all the other things kind of a deck. This is such a shame that it's target opponent.
Kind of classic, yeah. But,
it is
really outclassed.
If it was each, this would be probably one of the better elf.
Yeah, it would be insane.
It would be very good. Oh, Seed Cradle Witch. This is also technically an elf combo deck. You play all the elves, you play all the untappers. It's not strictly elves, but you do want them. And
I mean, you just play elves. You can activate the ability a bunch of times, but you go infinite with the land ores. So like you can do both things. The ores are the way that you'll go infinite, and the elves are the way that you'll like just like push damage and untap your stuff. Yeah. I
will say, chat, that the Seed Cradle Witch deck that was designed by Mentir is a highly underappreciated and underplayed deck.
Yeah, there's a lot of play to it.
Yeah, this commander does some really stupid stuff with with table politics, where somebody like swings with a mole drifter and you just like make it infinitely large and kill somebody during somebody else's combat step because it targets any creature.
Yeah,
and,
or just like kill a blocker in combat or something. Like not even like
You don't even need to go infinite to make something like a 12 power creature. Like like if the exchange is that it costs you 1 mana to make something +3/+3, you can still win the game. But the reality is that all the deck is untappers, auras that make your lands tap for more mana, and that is fucking it. Like you don't do shit else. Like this deck is really, really good. So definitely recommend checking that one out. And it does have that elf thing going on in it too. These last ones here, we've got.
I love Battle Mages. Thornscape Battle Mage is sweet. It's a really versatile card. Thunderscape Battle Mage. Good margin. This card is quite interesting. It does a lot of stuff. And also a Swarm Guild Mage as well right next to it. It gives everything menace and whatnot, so it's playing like more aggressively slanted black-green deck.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to do. There's also a Twin Blade Assassins, but again, this is not really an elf deck, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a grindier card. I mean, it can be. It's just a lot grindier. You're doing a different thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Telisara is good.
Telisara.
Iconoclast is a really aggressive card. It's a cool
Which
card.
one is? Oh, this one here. Yeah.
It's a 4/3 hasty guy when it enters.
Yeah, it seems like this would probably lean more towards the casual end of the spectrum, though.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
I mean, if you're doing something like Yavimaya Iconoclast, then I mean, better serviced playing Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're interested in that kind of thing.
This has been a really we've been pretty comprehensive with our analysis of like what's out there in terms of some of the most promising examples. And what you can see here is that there's clearly like 8 other elf commanders that you could that you can bring the elf package into, because the elves are so good and there's so many of them in this format that the question is more about like what commander do you choose for them and which elves do you choose to play. And you've got your payoffs and your enablers all outside of the command zone, and you don't often get that. It's one of the few tribal decks in the format that actually like has like significant game to it. I think that some of the other examples might be Yoshin Tactician, just being like a soldier deck that has blue for Distant Melody and Keep Watch and the big draw spells and counter spells to protect its board.
Yeah, but nothing is as fast as Elves.
No, nothing like this. No, because this could really. I mean, we were seeing like turn 7, turn 6. We were threatening. Turn 6, we threatened 21 damage, trampling.
Yeah, like when you cut out all that shit. Like think about the hands that we played with Heritage Druid. Like what we were able to put on the board by turn 3 and threaten. Like if you have a clear focus on what you can find an elf commander to do. I mean, you can build combo decks. You can build mid-range decks, like the black-green elf decks are like very powerful. Heritage Druid or Abomination Llanowar, like more funny commander-centric decks. There's so many ways you can go, and I mean, it really is an archetype unto elves. I mean, it's more than a tribe. It's just so versatile.
Yeah, absolutely. And chat, I'm going to drop this in the comments or the chat blocks here. Yeah, my words are falling apart right now. I've been talking too much. I've dropped Derek's link to his Heritage Druid deck in the chat.
Yeah, I'll make some changes. But yeah, it's kind of working. It's been a labor of love for the last it's come a long way, but
yeah, absolutely. Well, I love it. So I think we are going to call it here. And just, I think we've done some amazing stuff. I think y'all got a sense of the scale and diversity of different options there are in the elf archetype, or just in the elf tribe. And I think we've come up with something really that is both meme worthy, but also looks like very deadly. With ancient Elvians. And Derek, it's been an absolute joy having you on to co-host this. We will most definitely need to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want to. I'm happy to talk. I love talking chop bump. That's what I'm favorite to do.
Yeah.
Just let me know what you want to do, and I have opinions on everything.
Oh, of course, of course.
Give me a topic, give me a commander. I'll talk to your elf about it.
Well, the fun thing is that for those of you that don't know, Derek is also an enjoyer of mono black things, and this is one of the things that I love doing most right now in this format, because I think black is just like can do anything, and I really like that. And it's similar to Elves, where you like pick this color and suddenly you just like get this like cornucopia of different options to pick from. So yeah. Well, chat, I do want to thank you all for coming tonight. Thanks for joining this live stream. It's been wonderful having you all. Big gratitude to you. Before you all leave, if you want to take a moment to just click that like button and the subscribe button, it's totally free to do. Help support the content. We are on a goal right now to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours by the end of this year. It's quite ambitious, but the reason we're doing that is that once we get there, we get a YouTube partner. And once we've got YouTube partner, we can get YouTube memberships going, which means we transition our Patreon to YouTube Live membership. And then that means people who are patrons who support the channel financially, like our patron Noyark, then get all sorts of benefits. You're going to get to vote on what decks we work on. There's going to be unlocked emojis in both Discord and this one. You're going to get exclusive access to my time as well as Clay's. And it's going to be fantastic. So help us get there. Yeah, exactly. The one other way that you can help right now, and then the watch hours is probably the most significant hurdle we have, is we need to get about, I think it's another 900 watch hours to get there, is if you want to support us, it costs you nothing. Take one of our videos, go in one of our playlists, and just play it in the background muted and leave it on.
Yeah.
And that helps us farm those watch hours up. It'd be really helpful. So consider doing that. Like and subscribe. We also go live at unusual hours. So the people who are clicking the notify me button around our live videos are getting notified when we basically when we are going live at unusual times. So they're catching games that other people aren't, because they're getting notified about it. So definitely hit the bell too. And then the last thing is that we have so many exciting things planned for this coming year. And so definitely keep tabs on it. Join the Discord below in the comments. And that's all for tonight. Anything else, Derek, or we good to go?
I mean, I'm good to go. I've talked a lot about Elves. I'm all set. I said all I need to say.
Fantastic.
I did get my secret lair.
Oh, look at that flex, baby.
Yeah.
Well, my God.
I like playing with the highest rarity, like card printed rarity versions of things in my PDH deck. So I've got like the rare. What else was printed as a rare? Know that, but I have that version in this deck.
That's awesome.
Like the Japanese Strixhaven, the Archive Veil, like just like it's not even like a flex. I hate foils on the foils, but I just like having like rare printings of funny.
Yeah, of course. Well, and when you love something as much as you love Elves, you should absolutely be doing it. So, yeah. Well, that's all for tonight, folks. Connoisseurs of Fine Common Cardboard, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Derek, thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your platform. I really.
Yeah, of course. It's been my pleasure having you here, and we'll look forward to doing more in the future. All right. Peace out, y'all. Cheers.
Bye-bye.